Speed channel with one guy. I cannot see the spectators, so is there a way to check who's in the spectators?
Just click on the Need for Speed stage, and then you can see the audience.
It says start the stage, create event, and continue without starting. Like this is
Continue without starting. Yeah, continue
oh
without starting.
oh there we go. I see.
Yeah,
Those are the
click that
spectators.
first because we're doing a mic check first for a bit. But hi everyone.
Great. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start the event at like on the hour.
Okay, we're waiting for Brendan. Then we wait for Russell. I think he was gonna join. I hope he makes it in time because if he knows the
Is
most.
is Russell in the server yet? I don't see him.
I've sent him the link multiple times, and he just read my message. So hopefully he'll show up soon.
Let me see. He's not in the server. He's only on Classic NFS. Please tell me this guy is listening to the live stage. Will this be recorded? Yes. Well, this will be recorded, and we're going to turn our cameras on just a few minutes. We're waiting for one more guy, and then there will be another guy joining in, and he can join at any time he wants. And Clasport, remember if Castle joins, let him in because he also is going to be the co-host. Surface says, I can't hear you. Really? That's an issue on your end. But I do want to check my microphone. So this is good. Okay. Okay, we're banning Seiji Bonta right away. I want this guy like executed right now publicly.
Russell is here on the server.
Oh, he's here already.
He's here. Okay, hold on. Let me check. Oh, there he is. Joined
Nice,
just
nice, nice,
now.
nice.
I give him the role. And
Brendan. Oh, here's Castle. Castle, you're going to be. Wait, how do I? I'm.
right click. Oh, I'll do it.
Yeah, you do it before I
Invite.
destroy
Yeah,
stuff.
invite to speak. Yep, Castle's here as well.
Here's
Yep,
hello,
there he
Castle.
is.
Thank you for letting. Thank you. Good to be with everyone.
Okay, where? Okay, people are tuning. Oh my God, there's like 50 people in the audience now. I need.
For speed. Wait. We need Brendan. Brendan.
Yeah. I am looking at the. If you're gonna invite someone to speak, just right click on their name and then invite to stage.
Oh, so many people. Oh my day.
Holy moly. Okay, that at everyone ping. Yeah.
Hey, what do you do?
I just started the stage and then I forgot to uncheck notify everyone.
Good lad. Good lord. Good lord.
Oh no. Okay, Russell's got
Okay,
a message.
there he is. Here he is.
Yeah.
I invited him to speak. Yep.
Okay, because it said that the message saying he
Here's
couldn't
Brendan.
speak.
Hello, Brendan.
Yep,
Hello.
he's here. He is here. Yep, there he is.
And now we're missing Russell, and we're all in.
No, Russell got a message on his phone saying that he can't become a member for at least 10 minutes to speak in this server.
Ah, no way. He recently joined. Can you relax, class 4? Can you change that setting?
Yeah. I need to hold on. Onboarding. Hold on. I think it's a safety setup real quick.
Break the server just a
Gosh.
little bit so we can have Russell.
Okay, hold on. Safety setup. Hold on. Edit. Hold on. Let me check real quick. Oh, fuck off. That's raid
Is-
protection. Verification.
Just for the sake of people's sanity over here in this chat, we're going through a set of chosen questions that Scott picked, and then we're going to look at the AMA and go one by one. If there's a question that they cannot answer, they will say so, and
Okay, can Russell join now? I changed the verification level on the Discord just for now.
Alright, I'll let him.
Did Castle leave the
yeah, can you re-invite him, please?
Yeah.
Right.
Where is hold on. I'm looking for him in this like huge ass audience.
I see Castle.
Castle. Yeah, right click on him and invite to stage.
Yeah, it doesn't say invite to stage. Maybe because you made the stage and I cannot do anything. I can only invite to the server, and there's no invite to stage.
It's
This
on the
app is
very top.
oh, there we go. There. I found it.
Yeah. Yeah, Castle's
Sorry
here.
about that. I was trying to open up the questions page.
Okay.
And accidentally
Now we need Russell.
Yeah,
So
we
he's
only
here.
need Russell.
Yeah.
He's in.
He should be able to join now. I lowered the verification level of the server.
He's in the crowd.
Oh, there he is. There he is. I invited him to speak.
There he is.
Yep, he's here. He is
Yeah,
here. He's here.
Russell will know more than any of us combined, pretty much.
Why? How do I activate the camera in this thing? I want the face reveal.
It's still the same. It's in the bottom.
Oh well. 3, 2, 1. Everyone's gonna witness my face.
Doesn't
Hello.
allow me to show video.
Yeah.
And you,
I mean,
can you guys
Yeah,
hear
you
me?
can.
no, not me. Not us.
Okay. Hold on. Let me change those terms real quick. Let's see.
We got this server
Roles.
has too many rules. We have to lay down a little.
Yeah. Permissions. Let me.
No
Let
camera,
me.
no sharing.
Voice, video, speak, connect. Okay. You should be good to go now. I
Yeah, you should
adjusted
be good.
the. Yeah. I
Can I
adjusted the
take- can I-
permissions.
Sharing for later on.
Let's see. Can you check the camera, like the settings that we had when
Yeah,
we tested this out?
I gave them permissions for video.
There we go.
So
Yeah,
they
can
should
you
be
give
good.
me?
Can you guys hear me?
screen permission?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear
We
you.
can hear you.
Yep.
And it's a good thing we're doing the Need for Speed. I'm actually driving.
Nice. Nice.
You guys have video permission, so like you can turn on your video
Not
now.
me at least.
Okay,
Yeah, mine-
you
No worries,
in
Castle.
your
No worries.
case. Yeah,
But there's no need for me then.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Can
we're
you?
missing Brendan Castle. Castle, if you don't want to, no worries.
No, I mean like I can't stream, but I can't like turn on my camera. But if that's not needed, then that's fine.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. No worries.
Okay, cool. That's not important.
No, well, we need. Well, Brendan, just set yourself up. No worries.
Mhm.
And then I don't know. Shall we start? I need screen sharing ability for later. So Scott sends me that he needs screen sharing ability.
Okay. Hold on. Let me just fix up that part of the rule. Share. Oh fuck.
Yeah, setting
Video,
channels up in
speak,
Discord is just terrible.
soundboard, external. Yeah, voice activity.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Someone
he
says,
should
"Can
have
we ask?"
permission. Should have permission to screen share as well. Since he has permission to video.
Someone says
No.
here that can we ask questions here in chat?
No?
No, you can chat about it, but the questions are already done here, and we picked some. Well, Scott picked some, so we're going to be very organized. If we go by the chat, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be like spam, 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 spam. You know, it's hard to keep up. So, okay, so I guess we're starting. This is the second
Wait.
edition.
Oh wait, can you check if you have screen share permissions just to be safe?
don't-
I'm gonna manually give you permissions. Real quick. Where is it? Probe. Black box veteran. View. Invite, connect, video. Meet members, move members.
Yeah, I don't know why
Uh,
people's asking like to join in the conversation. Like, you are not
yeah.
part. You are
Now do you
disrespecting
have
us.
permission?
Nope.
I manually no. Uh,
I think he
Discord.
should. I think he should have.
Yeah,
I
he
have
should have. It's in the bottom of the.
Yeah, no, I have the video one that works. And next to it is screen, but that's still grayed out.
Well, that's weird.
Huh.
This app is really terrible. I swear. I can share my screen, but that should be a permission for everyone. I
Yeah,
don't get
I
it.
gave the role of permission. That's confusing me as well because by now he should have permission to screen
Alternate,
shared.
Scott, if you want to share something, like you can just like either send it to Club Sport or me, and then we screen share if that's fine for you. But
Actually, can I put a PDF in the channel?
it's gonna
Uh,
get lost with the messages. It's gonna
Uh,
blow up.
you can put it in the DMs that we have. You can slide it in there. And
Yeah.
then we
Because
can share it. Yeah.
maybe I'll send you the link and you can share it, and then I'll just read through it and tell you when to go
Ye-
to the next slide.
Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah,
a good
sure,
solution.
sure.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
Okay, so let's open up. Here's welcome everybody. Here's the second developer AMA we hold here at RNFS. I'm joined here with Clubsport, with Castle, and here is the Black Box developers. I'm gonna let them to introduce themselves. So, developers, please introduce yourselves to the RNFS audience, which is pretty cool.
Yes. Who would like to go first?
Let's go with age first, Russ.
Oh, funny. All right. Well, I was a Need for Speed developer for, geez, I don't know. I want to say from 2001 to 2005. So I was on Hot Pursuit 2, Underground 1 and 2, and a tiny portion of Most Wanted before I moved on. Before that, I was BioWare and Baldur's Gate and MDK2. And these days, I'm on Hogwarts Legacy for Avalanche.
Nice.
Nice.
Impressive resume.
I guess I'm the next youngest. I started at EA in 1988, so a long time before you guys were even born. I got to work with Peter Molyneux on Populous 2 and Powermonger, and then I moved to California. I was supposed to work on the first FIFA, but somehow I ended up on NHL. Did that from NHL 94 to 98. So that includes the one that was in the Swingers TV show, the movie. And then in 99, I moved to Vancouver and I worked on Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed, the PC version, not the other one. And then the internal team at EA Canada started work on 007 Agent Under Fire, and Black Box was brought on board to do Hot Pursuit 2, the PS2 version, and EA Seattle took the assets and did something with them. It's not really the same game, so that should answer a lot of questions. They got the stuff. We didn't control what they did with it. What you see is what they came up with. And then after Hot Pursuit 2, luckily Black Box then did all of the versions of Underground 1, which I got to work on. And then 16 years of way too much crunch, I disappeared and went to Australia after that. I got to work on Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, the one on the Xbox where you could get all the gamer points in like 3 minutes? That's me. Actually, that's Microsoft's fault. They couldn't decide how to do it, so we just went, fuck it, we'll just do it this way. I then worked at THQ, and I was there when they shut down 9 studios in one day. So if you're wondering how bad the industry can be, it was pretty bad in 2008 too. Then I went over to a racing game again. I did Race Room Racing Experience, which is a pure sim racing game where people wear gloves on their steering wheels and they have pedals and stuff. It's very difficult, very challenging, and I didn't win a race ever. And then after that, I went down to Ubisoft and worked on For Honor, which is really cool. And then I did Off the Grid, which is a Web3 thing with Neil Blomkamp, the movie director. And right now, between that, I did an Auto Legends thing that kind of went in, got the project out, and then disappeared again. And right now I'm working on something not car related, but my personal project is, and I will explain what that is later. Brendan,
Nice.
who are you?
Hi, I'm Brendan.
Nice.
I started on Hot Pursuit 2 as a junior artist. I was at EA previously in QA for a few years, and I did do art at QA. I did some kits on FIFA, and I did all the heads for NBA Live 2001, which was a PlayStation 2 launch title. So far back I go, not as far back as these old parts though. Worked on Need for Speed from 2001 until I shipped Most Wanted. I worked on Carbon briefly, but honestly, by then I had checked out. I'd left and joined Russ with his new company. Russ and I worked together probably until almost a decade. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, so I ended up going to United Front Games for 4.5 years, which is was started by ex Black Box owners. They left after 5 years with EA and started United Front Games. I was at United Front Games for, as I mentioned, 4.5 years on Sleeping Dogs, True Crime Hong Kong, which turned into Sleeping Dogs. Shipped that, and then I worked on. I was a director on Tomb Raider. After that, I worked on NHL briefly. I did all the jumbotrons for NHL 15, which was the first licensed arenas NHL. Most of that artwork is still in the game 11 years later, or whatever it is. So that's kind of cool. But then I moved to Montreal. Ubisoft wanted me to come work there. So I worked in the tech group, but I only worked on Rainbow Six Siege, built all the destruction systems for. I'm not an engineer, but I'm an artist, but tech artist. But I was the only artist on the destruction systems for Rainbow Six. So I don't know if anybody plays Siege, but most of that stuff's still mine. Then I left there, joined an indie company that didn't work out, and then I was on Dead by Daylight for a few years. I led the mobile launch for Dead by Daylight, and then I led the next gen launch for Dead by Daylight on PS5 and Xbox X. Then I left there to be a director in another company for a couple of years. That didn't work out, and then I left there and worked with Leslie Benzies of Grand Theft Auto fame, and his new company built a Rocket Boy on Mind's Eye, which was the worst game of 2025, unfortunately. And that's a good accolade. And now I'm back. I work back, and I was the only employee in Canada for them, so I left them in March 2024, and now I just work for a local studio, so which is called High Dive. And
I would like to mention, to this day, Brendan had the best portfolio video I've ever seen.
And the worst.
Well, no, it was the worst. It entertained us.
You told me. Let's tell a quick story. He told me at one time in my life, my demo reel. So when I briefly moved to Edmonton when I was like 19 or something. I don't know what the hell I was doing. That's what you do when you're a kid. With a friend of mine. We were only there for a month in the middle of winter, and I delivered my portfolio to Bioware at the time, which, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know Russ at the time, viewed that demo reel, which was a terrible portfolio. It was awful. And then a couple of years later, Russ ended up at Black Box. Through a connection of mine, I delivered my portfolio to Black Box. And Russ did tell me at one point, I remember, it was the worst demo reel and the best demo reel he's ever seen. The first one being the one I delivered in Edmonton. I don't know if you remember that, Russ, but it was pretty rough.
Yeah, but that was a much different one than you delivered to Black Box. That one you delivered to Black Box was classic.
It's still online somewhere, but it's very embarrassing because it's very old.
Well, if you want to share it with the public later, you're free to do so. We're free to find it out, and then we can all laugh together, or just like, yeah, cool, this is interesting.
Let's see if I still find it.
Well, nothing in life is terrible. Anyways, so I got here the questions that Scott picked. Anyone can answer. Anyone from the team can answer. They go from Porsche Unleashed up to Underground, and then we can, like, when the Underground questions stop, we can move on to the AMA here in the channel. So the first question over here starts by Noob Solid 26. He says, I noticed that the PlayStation 2 version of Hot Pursuit 2 has one additional desert location named Outback, which didn't appear in any other version. I always wonder why it didn't. I always wonder why it never appeared anywhere other than the PS2 release.
Yeah, I kind of answered that earlier, where we literally gave them everything. What you got was whatever they managed to get into their game.
Yeah,
Like
Black Box only ever worked on the PS2 version, and then we would give off everything that we made to the to the Seattle team, and they just did whatever they wanted with it, which was not nearly the same as the PS2 version.
Yeah, it's a different physics model as well.
All right.
Cool.
So the one that Noob Solid also asked, but I'm gonna leave that for the end because it's a really important one. It says Little Jinx. They asked, at what point did you guys decided to shift the franchise focus from exotic cars to tuners in order to start the development of Need for Speed Underground? Did EA consider any potential complications with the fans of the franchise on how drastic the change was for the series after Hot Pursuit 2?
And the answer to that one is the Fast and the Furious caused the problem. When the movie came out, it wasn't a huge success. The tuner market wasn't big. And when marketing goes, it's not big. It's based upon magazine subscriptions. But when Fast and the Furious went to DVD, there was $100 million worth of sales. So it was obvious that was the direction that we should be going. And I'd already pitched basically that game, but it got given to Seattle for some whatever reason. But then when they closed Seattle, it came to Black Box. I remember the meeting where they brought in all the art boards and everything. I'm going, hey, cool, my game's back. And that's pretty much it. Fast and the Furious, blame that movie. But it was cool. Like Vancouver had a tuner show while we were developing and stuff, and Brendan kind of had a tuner car, although he won't admit it. It's a Mazda 3.
No, I super had it was not a Mazda 3, first of all. Second
Wasn't?
of all, no. And
That was a Mazda 3.
yeah, it was a tuner car for sure. Yeah, I was you know
Yeah.
driving around in my cool little orange car at 20 years old or whatever it was.
Right. And I'm doing the underground game, and I'm driving a 1969 Dodge Charger. So it
Was
was
that what it
not
was?
my.
Didn't you had a TT at some point? I remember the TT.
Yeah, I bought a TT as well, but eventually I was driving the Charger around most of the time. The first gen TT was a great car. I missed that one a lot.
That's so cool. No, Scott also shared pictures of that Charger, like these gigantic cars. Like imagine pulling it at the office on EA and you have just this Charger over here. Beautiful, beautiful. It says, what was the process like for choosing a hero car for the games? What kind of criteria did the cars have to meet in order to end up on the cover or become the main focus feature main vehicle? You know, it's like, what was the
It's
criteria?
the hero cars were literally just like, which ones do we want to make cool? Like there was no rhyme or reason, there was no license or request or anything like that. And then the cover car was picked by marketing. We don't get a say in that. But I remember having to create the screenshot for the box. That's actually the image that you're seeing is actually a render from the PC version of Need for Speed Underground, where it renders the screen out at a massive resolution, like poster size. We had a little tool to do that. It took ages to take the screenshot.
Yeah,
Chuck O'Shea.
considering the hardware at the time, it's like the processing all the image just kills the
Yeah,
average
just render.
computer grade.
You press a button going, I like that square. And then he went away and came back an hour later and see if it was any good.
Days, it was painful.
Well, interestingly, though, at Black Box, we had a couple of genius engineers that had basically figured out how to backward engineer, take apart PlayStations, GameCubes,
people would do it anyway, so they just decided to be nice about it. So it helped them out eventually. But yeah, Russ understates how smart the black box engineers were. They were the cream of the crop as far as I was concerned, and they worked really well together. I feel bad for the GameCube guy though, because that was the worst one.
Yeah,
Mostly because
I would
of the
I would
disc.
comment I would comment further on that. In my experience at most game studios, the groups that stick together are usually by discipline, whereas, the engineers are all kind of a little team on their own, and then the character artists and blah, blah, blah. But at Black Box, it was kind of more the department. So if there was the front end, then you would have the front end engineers, artists, and designers were kind of that clique. So it was much different than any other environment I've been in. That was another kind of black box sort of specialness that I still haven't seen replicated anywhere else.
Yeah, I was a producer, but I was sitting with the track artist because I was working on tracks most of the time. I'm like, well, why would I sit anywhere else? I don't want to go sit by the management. That's boring. I sat next to Wes, my track guy, Australian. Cool dude.
Best ribbon man in the game.
Anyways, that's cool. That's cool insight. Honestly, it's pretty insane. Says some more questions. Says this is more for most wanted developers. Says considering how ambitious most wanted was, and if it was true that the development began right after the first underground was finished, what stories or anecdotes could you share about ideas for the game that just were never end up materialized and that we might not know? Not necessarily cut content, but discussed concepts inside black box that were discarded before even they became a concrete part of the project.
That would be down to you, Russ. Any stories from Most Wanted from the time you worked on it?
Well, I can tell you it was Most Wanted that was the final linchpin in a handful of us leaving. And the whole need for slow button was kind of the clincher right there. Because they had that slow motion button, which to many of us was kind of counterintuitive to the entire white knuckle speed that Need for Speed had always been known for. And that kind of turned into a sour mark for a bunch of us. That's about the only story I got.
Cool.
Yeah, so like that famous speed breaker mechanic is, basically like essentially one of the breaking points, I assume. It's like there were so many people who are, even to this day, they're still debating on um like about speed breaker and how like why are you using speed breaker, like don't use it, or like only use it on roadblocks, or like it's still going on to this day. And it's kind of surprising that you also had this sort of conversation even before the game came out.
As I
Oh,
said,
yeah,
someone in the
absolutely.
chat.
Because,
No, no, no.
oh, go
Continue
ahead.
on. Continue on. No, 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 no. Continue on. Continue on.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, it was a big point of contention because what most of us loved about Need for Speed was you almost felt out of control, especially once you had a real kick-ass car. You almost felt out of control at times, like with how fast you were going and all that stuff. And then to add this button that slows down time was just, it was really offensive to some of us.
So Pursuit Breaker was massively hated.
That's a good answer for the next question too. Then, did the team face any problems? Yeah, there's one of them right there.
Yeah, it says exactly like you said. It says one last question from this user: did the team face any major problems during the development of each of those games? And then, are there any stories that you remember that significantly affected the development, and how did you manage to solve them?
They quit. I don't think that's a solution, but that's how they solved it.
Well, we quit on Most Wanted, and that was one of a handful of things that forced us to feel that way. But no, on the Hot Pursuit 2 and Undergrounds, the conflicts that we had, they were, they were actually healthy conflicts, though. I would say that, with the exception of how much hours we were putting in, and the different personalities, I'd say things went pretty smoothly for the most part. Like lots of discovery. The problem was we were inventing things without a time frame to do it. Like we basically had 9 months for both games to have them basically complete. So those were the only real struggles. And then not to mention, all of a sudden EA is pouring people onto our team, but it worked out okay for at least Hot Pursuit and Underground 2. That was fine. A little friction, but it was good.
A good team can overcome friction, but eventually it will burn you out and you'll leave.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, Migoid, or whatever your name was, because I forgot your pronunciation, he asked, how was working with your own engine for the Need for Speed games? And was it really called Speed Eagle? Like, what was the real name of it?
Brandon, what was the engine called? Russ? Was it just
Speed
EAC?
Pipeline.
Speed Pipeline.
Speed
yeah.
Pipeline.
From my point of view, is Speed Pipeline. That's all that was.
Well, that
I mean,
was the name.
it was. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought put into it. I don't think it's just like okay, and
Yeah,
I mean, if
all the tools were theme named. Like all of the artist tools were theme named after candy. So we had like Jolly Rancher and geez, I forget a couple of the other ones. And then all of the programmer tools were named after cookies. So there was some thought put in there, just not in the name of the actual engine.
It reminds me of one setting of VLTED, which is exactly it's called acid emitters. And so, is there any word about that? About the acid emitters?
which project's that on?
No, most wanted. I think many of the black box games have like reference to other kind of substances, not just candy and cookies. It's like we play it cool.
That's the first time I've heard that term, but I mean, it's been 20. What years is 20 years since I've heard acid emitters. I mean, that'd be on the VFX side. I mean, Russell was a seasoned dev when he joined Black Box. I think Russ worked on, God, everything: lighting, VFX, art, artistic direction, technical art direction. So I guess Russ, you might have more insight on that if you worked with acid emitters. It might also come from like another EA project. When they move some tech over, it could have been something used on like EA Canada.
Yeah, because like at BioWare, we built our own particle systems and all that stuff and lighting systems. And I brought a lot of that knowledge onto Need for Speed and had guys like Arn and Martin and Chris build all that stuff into the Need for Speed effect system. And I never stayed around to see the integration of EA's stuff into the Speed pipeline. I only was ever on Speed pipeline.
Cool. I guess everyone in the chat, everyone who ever saw someone calling it Eagle, you can finally correct them. It's Speed Pipeline. Speed Pipeline. No more Eagle bullshit. Okay. Second question. Do
Well, I
you
think sorry. Let me
personally?
just chime in real quick. I think Eagle is in regards to EAGL, which I think is the rendering pipeline of
Yeah.
EA.
Yeah,
It
I
wasn't.
think it's
It wasn't the speed development pipeline.
yeah, it's like there's a lot of debate about that over the years. It's like because the executables are named Speed, so like people assumed it's called Speed, but like it's a common thing that was like, oh, from back in the day, it's called EAGL. It's like thanks for debunking everything, I
Yeah.
guess, because like that's been another major point of topic within the Need for Speed community for like so many years.
Yeah. This kills the Need for Speed theories, and the Mystery City nonsense. Okay. So this Migo keeps asking, and this goes for everyone. Do you guys personally know any of the creative directors of, well, Porsche Unleashed, Hopper 2, Underground 2, Most Wanted?
Yeah. Well, the answer is there wasn't a creative director. There were no game designers. EA didn't have game designers. So if you want to consider who the creative director is, that's me. But my title was senior associate producer. I designed and produced the games.
What was the
EA didn't.
question again? Sorry.
The question was, do they know the creative directors on Porsche, Hot Pursuit, Underground? We didn't have creative directors. We had art directors and audio directors, but there were no game designers, so there were no creative directors. We had executive producers that came up with ideas, but they're still producers. It's different now, though.
It is
And I
different now.
think
Yeah, even like tech art didn't exist back then. I mean, Russ introduced me to tech art, which wasn't even
Yeah.
a thing. But Russ was essentially our technical. He was our art
Yeah.
director and our technical art director. But there
Yeah,
was no
the-
such thing as technical art really at the time.
Yeah, the titles didn't really represent what they did. Well, the title represented what they did. So it was just car artists, even though one of them would actually do the technical part of having to make the roofs go up and down in Porsche. So technically, he's a technical artist, but back then we just called them car artists. Everyone is all more, about their title actually representing what they do, as opposed to back then,
There
it
were,
was just what they did.
there were also many hats worn by many people. Like
Yeah.
you weren't just a producer, Scott. You were beyond a producer. Cohoe, you weren't just a modeler artist. You were beyond that as well. Like everybody on that team, most people on that team wore many hats.
Yeah, we had to in 9 months. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
And then do it again.
like I ended up doing a lot of collision work, like behind the scenes work. I built a helicopter. I don't know. Everybody remembers the helicopter from Hot Pursuit 2,
Yes.
PS2.
Yes,
That's
the one that
mine.
throws missiles at you.
I think Russ did the missiles because I
And
don't know. Does it still have the happy face at the end at the end of the missile? I can't remember.
it absolutely does have that.
That's awesome.
Who
And
did the
someone
forest?
gets
So
the
I want-
texture. Someone
Hey,
The
Russ,
name
someone
is
hey,
can get the
At
texture.
the end of the missile, it has a happy face.
So,
Hey,
so,
Russ,
yeah,
who
someone
by the way,
someone
you can outrun in reverse if you play your cards right. You can outrun the missile in reverse and get a good look
Yeah.
at that happy.
Yeah. Hey,
that
Russell,
that's
who did the forest fire in Hot Pursuit 2's Parklands? The
I
deer that
did.
runs. Yeah, see?
I did. Yeah, that's me. And the rubber boot. Did anybody ever find the rubber boots?
no.
don't-
There's so many Easter eggs that we're just finding out.
What?
Like,
The
rubber
ship
We had
boots.
because
So we had this thought. I think it was me and Coho having the conversation about how you're driving down a highway and there's always just a random shoe or a boot on the road. Well, we need that, so we put like they'll usually just be on the shoulders or just inside the bushes. There's probably on every map. There's probably a half a dozen rubber boots in there that you can find easily.
I mentioned earlier we were in a conversation that at one point I had taken my head from my demo reel and put it on a stake in the Tiki Village, and I guess ESRB stepped in and said, you can't be rolling the decapitated head down the road, so we had to pull it out.
Oh,
But I remember the boots and the tents. You could hit the tents in the forest, I think. Could you not?
yeah, you could.
Yeah, we had
And
some climbing.
you remember what the forest was originally called, Brendan?
God, I have no idea.
Well, they poo-pooed that one. It was originally called Morningwood.
Oh yes, yeah. Okay.
The morning wood
No.
forest. Come on.
My God.
We have fun when we give you a crunch.
That is one crazy development team. Well, but I want to add something for Hot Pursuit too. Didn't you, Scott, mention that they also had Hometown from Need for Speed 3 running in it, or who was it?
Yeah. Hey, Russell, when we came over to see you guys in the very beginning, didn't you have a version of Hometown running on PS2? Like you literally just ported that track. Or am I just making that shit up?
No, pretty much. I mean, we did all sorts of crazy stuff. Even at one point, I remember when the SSX guys came over and were bragging at the size of their world. I actually took the entire SSX mountain and integrated it into Underground just to show that you drive by that entire mountain in less than 30 seconds of Underground. Just to show that your world is nothing compared to ours, which was fun. We had a very healthy rivalry with the SSX team. We loved those guys. We actually traded stuff back and forth when it came to technology and all that stuff and world building. So it was a healthy relationship, but they were a little too braggy about thinking their world was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to brag out. Well, next question says, DIW NFS. Do you believe that all the work you have created represents the best possible outcome in the area you have targeted?
Yeah, it's as good as you can get in 9 months, pretty much. But 9 months with Black Box is 2 years with another developer. Like, especially when we're crunching. Like, when you just have the right team, things work. And Black Box is one of them. One of the best things
And
about
then,
working in industry is just that you meet people that are genuine and honest, and you just become friends with them. I haven't seen Russ since we stopped working on Underground. I've seen
but now
Brendan
talking,
times
but
in the
now
last
talking
20.
to you, Scott, it's like we just talked last week.
Yeah, it really sure is. I told you, I was in the UK last week. I met up with a guy. The last time I saw him was 11 years old when he went to secondary school and I went to grammar school. I haven't seen him for 44 years. And it was literally like, "You're a car dealer?" And he's like, "Yeah." And how'd you know? I'm like, "Dude, we were friends when we were kids. I knew exactly what you wanted to be." And it was literally just, it's like I hadn't not seen him for the last 40 years. We just started talking about everything. And the games industry is the same way. You make really good friends. Then you also figure out who you don't trust.
I mean, Scott and I were not close during Need for Speed. You know, Scott was a lot more mature than I was. I was a young, stupid kid, and I was very anti-EA for several reasons. I admit that. I'm not anymore. I mean, I grew up, whatever. But Russ and I are very close, though. Russ and I would regularly cuddle up under the desk and sleep many nights. That's not true, but we do. We are very close. Russ is one of the best mentors anybody could have ever had. He was one of my, one of the father figures in my life. So we don't talk much anymore, unfortunately. But Scott and I reconnected after Need for Speed, and I realized how good people are. Like, there's good people everywhere. As much as I didn't enjoy the EA acquisition and integration as much, they were great people there that I got to work with. Like, small snippet. When I did do NHL, I only did NHL for like 3 months on a small contract because it was in between jobs, and it was Marnie and Victoria. Not Victoria. What the hell's her name? Anyway, they pinged me and said, "Oh, come on, work on FIFA for a while." And I went and interviewed with them, and then NHL just sent me a contract, and that's just because of the good people that were at EA and and the and the and the and the, and the relationships you make, right? So that's just that. I'm sure. I think last time at EA, I ended up in that. Last time I was in Vancouver, so I live in Montreal now. Last time I was in Vancouver, I went to a house party at a friend's house, and a bunch of old black box guys showed up, and it's just like we were working together, the day before. I'm sure everybody here has friends that you don't talk to that much, but you can have a beer with or a coffee with any day, and it's weird when you're in that sort of environment, especially a black box, when we just worked all the time, and that's like your friends. You had dinner with them, you had breakfast with them, you went out and partied with them, you become super super close. And I think that sticks for the rest of your life, honestly, because I don't think I've ever had a team like that before. Luckily I had a small team on Rainbow Six. I just worked on a project called Real Blast, which I mentioned before, construction team. We were a very small group, so we're still tight knit. But other than that, I mean, the dev industry, the game industry now, like, they'll bring teams together, but they're so large and they don't last very long, unfortunately. People move on quickly. People are looking for the next paycheck. So it's just different times.
Very different team.
Yep.
I was gonna ask Brendan, since you mentioned Rainbow Six, by any chance, have you met Chase Strait?
What's his name? Who? What?
Chase Strait.
Chase
Tay?
Trey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tay?
Chase.
Chase.
No,
CH
chasing. Chase.
Chase? Chase
Chase
Strait.
as in a
Stray.
chasing?
Yeah,
Chase straight.
Chase, like, yeah. I believe he was like one of the community developers.
The community manager.
No, probably
The
Yeah, community
probably not. I
manager.
mean,
Yeah.
it depends. Let's see, Chase
Yeah.
straight. So I worked
Yeah,
on
he worked on Rainbow
in
Six as well,
Cyprus.
and I think so, yeah. But yeah, he
Could be
worked
years
on
too.
Rainbow Six, and later on, he actually worked on Need for Speed Unbound. Um,
No, I don't
uh,
think I ever. Actually, I kind of recognize him. I'm looking at his LinkedIn right now. But no, I don't have a personal relationship with him. I was closer to the other community manager, Rainbow Six, and Dead by Daylight was Genevieve Forget, who is now the GM for the local Microsoft Studio Compulsion Games. So I knew her quite well, but I didn't know the other community managers. Again, I was on Rainbow Six. I only worked on Rainbow Six, but I worked on the Real Blast team with the technology group, which actually wasn't on the Rainbow Six team. So the tech group at Ubisoft, we did sit with the Rainbow Six team most of the time. Tech group itself had its own building. It was basically at Ubisoft Montreal. This tech group, if anybody doesn't know here, it has its own space, and they do like plugins, a third party parts of other projects. So like Rayman will contract the tech art group. Ubisoft's so big that they contract their own studios to do things, right? EA is very similar in many ways. Like you could work on a project EA Canada and contract a team out of EA Florida to do a small snippet, right? So Ubisoft worked that way is that, again, a project at Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed, would say, oh, we need a multiplayer solution. Let's go to the tech group. The tech group would have some sort of plugin, or audio, cinematics, anything like this, right? So I was part of the Real Blast team. When I joined, there was me and 6 programmers. I think we grew to like 12 or 13. But I stayed there we shipped version 1, and then I did 2 DLCs or 3 DLCs. I have the patches for them, and then I ended up leaving. I mean, I find it very difficult, at least back then, to be in a corporate structure like that for too long. It's why I left EA. It's why I left Ubisoft. Now I'm with a very, very large corporation, and I'm very happy where I am. Like I'm not moving. Too old to move anymore. I'm not moving anymore. I'm happy. So
Nice. Anyways, final question that Scott picked, and then we move into the Discord channel. So, Azim, not me, Azim, he or they or she, they asked, I wanted to ask, what do you think about modern racing games and Need for Speed titles? What do they do well, and what do you think they're missing compared to the older games?
Oh, yeah, that was one. Basically, after Underground 1, I kind of stopped playing them because you tend to get annoyed with the game that you've been working on for 3 years. And I don't like the narrative in Underground 1 or any of the games, and it just got worse. I just want to pick a car, a track, and go race. So they dropped me as being a fan. I prefer Blur from Bizarre Creations. I love that game to death, and I love Wreckfest. I like those cars, those kind of games.
We'll have to do
Blur
a breakfast
mentioned
session.
Blur
Yeah,
mentioned
Blur is picking up a lot of fans nowadays. I did play it. I didn't generate anything to me, but many people like it, and I just don't judge them. Honestly.
yeah, Blur and Wreckfest they're both really good shouts.
Yeah,
I
Split
like them
Second
both.
and time as Blur, but I preferred Blur. And
yeah, I
actually,
can
Okay.
talk about this.
right now on mobile, I'm really really liking a game called Hot Slide. If anyone plays that, that's a lot of fun.
Okay. So
I
here's
also I also repeat.
oh,
Sorry, I just jump in. I also repeat what Scott said. Like I was a huge fan of Need for Speed. I was very lucky to start my career with Need for Speed. That was the first game I ever bought with my own money when I was a teenager. Was Need for Speed on PC. But it just got, I don't know, after working on it for so long, and the way they changed the direction, it just wasn't my type of game anymore. And even when I was a kid, I played. I brought it up in another conversation, but NASCAR from Papyrus, IndyCar from Papyrus, Motocross Madness, Monster Truck Madness, Destruction Derby came up in a conversation. Carmageddon, Quarantine. Like these are games that are 20, 30 years old now. But yeah, I haven't played when I started getting into VR gaming a little bit because it's fun. There's cool things. I like flying spaceships, so like Star Wars and stuff. So I did try, some of the what is it, Leto Corsa or whatever it is. Played a little bit of that in VR and stuff, and then I tried Dirt Rally, but it made me sick. So I don't currently play any racing games either.
Yeah, for me, it's I just don't see. I haven't played a racing game since. I can't remember what the name of that was. It was on PlayStation 3, and it was Motorstorm. That's it. That was like the last racing game that was like super exciting to me. Like you just felt like you're going fast, and it's crazy. And there was no, sure, characters had backstory, but it wasn't like a character story game. I was really not into that with the undergrounds at all. And believe me, playing the undergrounds, which I did love playing, they were great, but at any moment I could skip the story crap. Gone. I really dislike that stuff. And I don't like any racing game that tries to cram that stuff in there. I'm not there to watch a story or watch a movie. I'm there to go really fast in a car. And that's what I like out of racing game. And I still don't see that a lot these days.
Russell and
me,
I
it
do have
is.
post racing dev history as well. We also the last project Russell and I worked on together was racing. Was not Need for Speed. It was Full Auto 2 Battle Lines for the PSP. I don't know if anybody
You
played
actually
that.
worked on that? You
I
actually
think I
worked on that?
remember Fallout. I think I
Yeah,
remember
that's
Fallout.
crazy. I played it a lot as a kid. I much preferred it over the mainline console versions. That's crazy to hear that someone else that you actually worked on it.
And that was actually really hard because PlayStation Portable was a miserable platform to develop on.
I feel sorry for the testers.
Also,
Well, you got to play your game 24 hours or 8 hours a day holding this thing here.
let's see.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, the guys who play tested on PSP, but I think you have like a mini box that has attached to a PSP, and that boxes projects to the TV. So your PSP works as a controller, and then everything is done by the UMD unit. I think that's how it works. Could it be?
I've had the luxury of never having done a PSP title. I've done GBA though.
Well, moving forward with the AMA. Now we're here in the Discord channel. Here's one question called War Building, asked by Thulim 9816. He says, across the different entries from Porsche Unleashed to Most Wanted, what would you say was key to creating or communicating either between players or fellow colleges the different tracks in those games?
Well, Porsche was basically the tracks were designed before I got there, but they were just built on the similar style to the previous titles, like High Stakes and Hot Pursuit 1. Hot Pursuit 2 obviously had to use Hot Pursuit 1 as its inspiration, so that's why they're very similar. Underground was the first time we had a city track. So for me,
And they weren't loaded maps either. It was, you had one giant city. It wasn't like different locales. We had different neighborhoods, but it
yeah,
wasn't like you had desert and then you had a rainforest and then you had, tropical. There was none of that. It was just one big giant city.
yeah. So my main inspiration was actually Project Gotham. Those kinds of games, like they were city-based tracks, so we looked at those. But it was also trying to make tracks that were fun, like Hot Pursuit 2, in a tighter city. So we're trying to get that style, but in a tighter city. And it's easier to do because you don't have hypercars to deal with. Like even the fastest Nissan Skyline, it's not going to be a Hayabusa or a Huar, however you say the Koenigsegg cars, those things. Like most Hot Pursuit 2 cars are always going to be faster.
Well, it's funny you should say it was easy. Making it one big city with the memory limitations and all that, and PlayStation 2 was quite a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
holy cow. I don't know,
And then,
is anybody familiar with like a top-down map of the underground one or two cities?
yeah.
Like, has anybody noticed the
When we,
plate of spaghetti?
You
right,
mean
and it got
the
worse by
map?
us because
Yeah.
when they wanted to make the whole city wet, that meant we had to have reflections everywhere. And back in those days,
Yeah,
the reflection was literally the same building upside down under the world, which meant your
yeah,
poly count instantly went up. It was
yeah.
technically a pain in the ass. Hot Pursuit 2 was a lot
Yeah,
easier.
it was crazy because it was just like, and it was night and day. Like, there was lots of humming and hawing. Like, oh, we can't have it wet. But then when you saw it, it was like, there is a reason why they wet the roads in movies and stuff because it does look much cooler. But man, yeah, that was a technical nightmare. Same with all the work that Wes had to do on those interchanges. Like, that's why it looked like a big plate of spaghetti. We couldn't just model real world freeway off ramps and exits because that just wouldn't work at those speeds. So you had to extend them out. And lo and behold, you wind up with this multi-layered plate of spaghetti. And yet all our technology for like rendering regions and whatnot was 2D based. So now we have to figure out a way to make it 3D based to accommodate all these multi-layered roads. And we only had 9 months to do it.
It was definitely the
That's
hardest design task I've ever done for tracks, that's for sure.
that's just insane. 9 months and you had so much technology to like figure it out. Ugh.
Yeah.
What a headache.
And everything's so trivial nowadays. Like I've been using Unreal for 10 years, the last 10 years or so, since Rainbow Six and every project. And everything's so a lot more trivial than it used to be. Like you just put overlap two roads and then it's gonna work. Where on Need for Speed, like they had to create custom physics engines, physics tech to make sure that all that stuff worked. I mean, I remember more of that stuff being an issue on the PSP, but I mean, everything in Need for Speed back then was like new tech. We, in fact, we did a lot of since we're a Canadian developer. There's a government program here called Shred, which basically you submit for money back from the government for technology innovation, and we did a lot of that. And I wasn't much on that side. I mean, I just did pulled vertices and stuff, but I know Russ was involved, and I know the engineers were involved quite heavily in that stuff. Everything was like a technological innovation. It was crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was funny because there was really no space or no exemption for art, so we kept crafting ways to make art sound like it was actually engineering.
Well, here's the most popular question. It has 76 replies to it, but it's done by MS 2008. And it's a very, very specific question. It says, in the demo version of Most Wanted for the PlayStation 2, there was some cool stuff in the game that had been removed from the final release. That is, fire from blowing up gas stations, remove voice lines of cops getting hit by the car, Rock as a blacklist, busted scenes, different camera tilt inspired by Underground, functioning police scoreboard in free mode, drift mode, and then remove voice lines, and then game modes. It's like, why?
I don't know anyone's going to know that because Russ left before
Yeah,
the end.
I don't think anybody in here was that involved in Most Wanted. Like I worked on Most Wanted for the whole thing, but I just did behind the scenes technical art. And I'll tell you the truth, I was largely checked out by then. I had planned to leave. Russ had left. Other people I was closest to had left. EA had largely taken over. There were some very odd. There was a very odd, and I won't get into it here. I don't want to be negative. There's some very odd political conversations. Like as any if anybody works in a corporation here, it gets into politics and stuff. I won't get into it, but like I just wasn't. I did my job, but I wasn't really interested. I wasn't as invested as I was in earlier projects. And yeah, again, I was on that team on the ship, but I left just I think just as Carbon was starting to move. So I really have no idea there.
Well, I can stab a guess though. You had definitely, don't forget, like me and Phil and Steve and those guys leaving. We weren't the only ones that left. So there were a
Yeah.
bunch of people leaving, and now you had all these people that had been working with the technology that we and those guys developed that are no longer the people that actually made that technology that now have to work with
Yep.
that technology without us. And 9 months.
So I don't know what, for whatever reason, I got stuck with like starting the new tracks. If that makes any sense, I didn't build the tracks or whatever, but I would start like the foundation of each track. And then I left EA, and they were calling me still months later, going, "Hey, can you help us with this?" And I was like, I was laid off, so I was under no obligation to help, and I didn't because you don't work if you're. Who's it said the Heath Ledger's Joker says if you're good at something, never do it for free. So keep that in mind. But yeah, they had no clue what they were working with. Everybody had left, so I really don't know what's going on there. A lot of stuff happened during Wilson. I mean, the team size exploded. We had new consoles. We had the Xbox 360 and the PS3 to work on, or was that PS4? No, PS3, right? And they hired a bunch of Hollywood talent that some of them were fantastic, some of them sucked. So like you said, just like with EA and stuff, there was a lot of politics going on, a lot of moving gears, and yeah, I mean the best developers that I've ever worked in my life had left, and I was on my way out. So sorry, guys.
Well, and one of the funny things was I remember, oh yeah, when we first started Most Wanted, yeah, this will be a drop in the bucket because we can safely assume that this is all going to be nighttime given the success of Underground. And so we're developing everything around nighttime, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know, Scott, do you remember where it came from, where all of a sudden it's day?
I was gone after Underground 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I
I
wouldn't.
don't know who made that decision, but it had just changed today just before we left. Not that I don't really care, but man, that created a lot of pain for the people that were left to clean up that mess. Because there's a lot of different stuff going on when you're, at least back in the day, when you're developing between night and day. Because don't forget, back in those days, there was no dynamic lighting. Everything was baked. And usually the textures too. So yeah, you couldn't just in those days go, oh, let's do night or night and day. That just wasn't a decision you could make back then. And yet they did on most ones.
I mean, a good example is on Need for Speed Underground, we had 3 executive producers. None of them lasted very long. And then eventually Stefan Vessels became the producer. And that was a black box guy. So they finally picked a black box guy. Because the other 3
Shout
were
out
EA.
to Wessels. Shout out to Wessels. I love what he was actually. He came by, like he was in my house a few weeks ago. Came by for a visit.
Yep.
A wonderful dude. I love him to death. But I did hear some stories I'd never heard before. That's for sure. I won't share them here. But
Yeah, and
I concur, by the way. I absolutely concur, and I dine with him on a semi-regular basis to this day. So
We'll get him for a new AMA then. It's like get him in contact, we organize and no new EMA with that guy, you know. The more better, honestly.
It's also interesting, right? If I may butt in, if it's interesting because like everyone says that Most Wanted is like one of the most revered titles in the series. Like even up to this day, even like EA still uses it as basically their Need for Speed mascot.
It's the benchmark.
Even
Yeah.
like yeah, it's like 2 years ago they had it. They had a real life M3 GTR from with the Most Wanted livery. So yeah, and then just hearing everything that's like basically a lot has gone to shit.
It's basically
In the background, it's insane.
these games are literally just like miracles because you have no time, have to develop a lot of stuff. Things change in the middle of the development. It's like they were miracles. Like they were just like this away from not happening, and that is insane.
Three,
These games
three
made us, you
executive
know. Yeah,
producers for Underground 1 is insane.
yeah,
And
it's insane.
remember,
I will agree with the miracle sentiment because the team that we had back then was just it was unbelievable. Like
Yeah,
I've never even seen anything close to that before. Like the level and speed of iteration was just I can't even explain it. I don't even know how we did it. Lots of coffee, lots of beer. I guess I don't know. Like it was just a whirlwind.
well, I could,
I even when I tell people like again these two guys are a little older than me, but you know I was lucky to see the last 2 or 3 years of like the Wild West of game development with Black Box before it turned very structured and corporate. And it was an
well,
incredible.
yeah, what it was, I don't know if these terms are still used before, but I would say the common paradigm for development in games was waterfall management. So basically, everything comes to a head and then blah. So nobody sees anything until everything's ready to be seen. Whereas Black Box, like, and that was how BioWare was. And then I come to Black Box, and Black Box was no iteration, man. You get stuff in and you get it in now, even if it's broken. We'll figure it out. We'll get it fixed. But you get stuff in and you get it in fast, and we want to play it immediately. So that was the first place I worked where like instant integrate or iteration was commanded of us, and that was kind of part of the clash with when EA took us over. Was EA was still waterfall, so everybody kept things all private and to themselves until they felt it was ready to present. Where Blackboard said, "No, you show it right now. You get that ribbon in there. I don't care if there's textures or nothing. I want to be driving that ribbon right now."
and you have to remember that 9 months means you ship a game that works with no bugs. There is no day one patch. Only
Yeah,
the
that's
PC, because PCs had issues with drivers and stuff, so you're always patching the PC version. The consoles, no day one patch. PS2 didn't have that ability. GameCube, no. Xbox One maybe, but it had to work. These days, publishers are lazy. They ship a game and then they've got another few weeks to fix the bugs for day one patch.
They even give you the day one patch release date before they release a game nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah, games are a
Yeah,
lot different. My favorite time was working on cartridges. You had to nail it. It had to be right the first time. That's why I'm the biggest company that I admire is Nintendo. They've always been like that because they've always been cartridges or DVDs. They don't have a PC-based console. Now
the
they do.
unorthodox, the unorthodox, the always contrarian to the consumer market in general. Well, here's some.
You have
Yeah,
friends
sorry.
that bring out the Nintendo console, right? You don't bring out the PlayStation. You want to play fun games, you get the Wii out.
Well, yeah. Well, then.
There's been a few recurring questions about the car list, what cars made it in, what cars did not make it in. Do you guys have any insights on how the cars are chosen, or how the cars are not, or how the cars are chosen to be excluded? Or what decisions, did you guys have any input, for example, on what cars made it into, say, Underground 1 or Porsche Unleashed or
Yeah,
Hot Pursuit
that's
2?
yeah. I picked the cars for Porsche, Hot Pursuit 2, and Underground 1. The only cars I was asked to add were the Holden and the Ford TS50, but since they have V8s, I didn't object.
So so can you give an insight on like what especially because you did not have a lot of you did not have a lot of time and a lot of options. Like, I mean, not a lot of slots for cars. How did you choose them correctly? Because
Well, yeah,
it's 20 years on, like people still talk about like Underground 1 for being such a perfectly curated car list, because every car fits there. Every car fits the theme. So how did you come up with such a car list like that?
you pretty much answered. Like they have to fit the theme, right? So you don't put a Mini in Hot Pursuit 2. Hot Pursuit 2 is exotics. So you know that kind of stuff. But what I did do for Hot Pursuit 2 is because I'm a European, I put in European cars. So Opel Speedster VX220 and the Lotus Elise, they're pretty much exactly the same car in real life. So 3 models and 1 physics model, slightly tweaked, gets you 3 cars. And I just like those cars, so I wanted to put them in. I'm a Dodge guy, so the Viper had to go in. You know, it's about coming up with a car selection that's good balance. Porsche was fairly easy because it's based upon the 3 eras of the cars, and obviously when you're racing
And
Porsches against
by the way,
the 356A
in my
and B,
opinion, the Viper was the best physically feeling car in Hot Pursuit 2.
yeah, but the Miata was the best car in Underground. Any rear-wheel drive car is going to be better, mostly because that's the one I tune the most.
Speaking of underground car list, there's a lot of people saying that for underground, there was almost a Mini Cooper in there because there were some strings and
No.
some. No.
No, the Mini, and I had no intention to put the Mini in there. It didn't fit, not at the time.
And what about, for example, one guy says, like, why do you have the neon in this game, and why do you don't have an SRT4 in this one? Why do you don't have a 22V or no, stuff like that? It's like, why is that?
Okay, so I guess here's one of the biggest difference. In Underground 1, it's supposed to be the car that you're building. I'm not going to give you the SRT4 because it's already a cool car. I'm going to give you a shitty neon, and you got to make it cool. But in Underground 2, you got the SRT4. So why would I customize that? You're better off starting as $500 car that's base and putting in a bigger turbo, putting a bigger engine, putting your paint on, putting your body kit on. You don't want to start with an SRT4. You're paying 40 grand and you're going to basically take 20 grand off the car. Didn't make sense. So it had to be the base cars. And then became your car.
It's such a refreshing mentality, because like in a lot of modern games, they stuff the highest trims of cars for just to have them. So that's a very interesting. That's a very
Yeah,
interesting.
like even Need for Speed is guilty of this nowadays. It's like the Impreza, for example, in Underground 1, you have the base level 2.5 RS front wheel drive. You can, at the
But
time, you could probably buy it on a
it's
dealership
all-wheel
brand
drive.
new and then modify it.
Subarus are all-wheel
Yeah.
drive. All of them except the
Oh,
BRZ.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, but you had the 2.5 RS, just a basic Impreza. And then in the Unbound, they added the limited version of a GC8, which is like
It's like
kind
for
of, it's like
200 made.
yeah, around like 200 units worldwide, and then you also have like limited Type R's, exclusive series Porsches that don't sort of make sense in a game about customizing cars. So yeah, that's an interesting insight on the selection of the cars in the underground.
Yeah, Underground was easy. I mean, the Skyline and the Supra were going to be the two best cars in the game. Easy.
Right.
And
And
There
then,
was
the cars you
there
could
was an
afford.
interesting there is an interesting sidebar to this though, as opposed to when you're talking about the differences between the underground and Hot Pursuit. In Hot Pursuit, they had very strict limitations on what we could do to the cars. Like Ferrari was not going to allow us to have a car upside down on fire. So that was a no-go, which meant that if, well, we can't do that with Ferrari, then we can't do that with any car. And then BMW had just introduced this new window technology, so we were not allowed to break, crack, or shatter windows on BMWs, which meant, well, then we can't really do that for any car now, can we? Whereas on Underground, it was almost like the manufacturers of those cars, I think they just didn't know what the consequences of letting us do whatever we wanted with the cars when it came to damaging them.
I
I
think they were
see.
just
I think a lot of the differences though with the Fast and Furious movies, like Hot Pursuit, Need for Speed, whatever, I don't think car manufacturers cared. But once Fast and Furious was so successful, and the car manufacturers started like clamoring over themselves to be involved somehow because they just saw the money signs, so they opened up the gates quite a bit.
the Gran Turismo caused that.
Well,
Oh yeah,
like
that
don't
too,
forget,
I guess.
don't forget in that era, at the time, but things like NHL and whatnot had to pay to get the accurate advertisements from the boards. And then during that time is when some EA exec figured out, no, it should be the other way around. If they want their ads on our boards or in our stadiums, they're paying us. So that was a big shift. And I remember the marketing nightmare that was Hot or Underground 2, because I remember Underground 2 coming up with systems like, oh, we can charge them more if it's black or white, how many pixels, all this stuff. We could come up with pricing plan for how many pixels does a billboard take up and all this stuff and make them pay. So there was actually artists coming up with the ideas for how they could sell pixels in the game. It was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I
well,
Yeah,
remember
you
we
brought
had.
up you brought up the Mini Cooper. I actually remember something like that. I have these flood of memories that coming back to the Mini Cooper. So between Hot Pursuit 2 and Underground 1, we shortly prototyped a game called Interceptor, which was supposed to be. Was that between HP2 and Underground 1? Does anybody remember that?
It's
Got
probably what we
Rust.
guys were working on until we actually
And
got
then
the Underground.
I also for some reason remember some sort of we were maybe do some sort of collaboration with the Italian Job, and that came out around the same time. And I remember something to do with the Mini Cooper. I think I remember one of the cards showing me a Mini Cooper in game. So you guys might not be. There might be flags somewhere for some prototype something. I don't remember how far it went. It'd be cool if we had one of the car guys in here, to talk
Well,
about this.
between Hot Pursuit and Underground, we had played with Fast and the Furious, and because that was even up on the table. I don't know what happened with that deal. And then yeah, there was the what did you call it? The one with all the Austin Minis?
Yeah, the Italian Job.
The Italian Job. Yeah, I remember that one. And don't forget, all of this occurred within that same 9 months that
Oh yeah,
Most Wanted.
it was so short.
And yes, you were right, Cohoe. It was between Underground 2 and Most Wanted was Interceptor, Italian Job, and for a brief moment,
I mean,
Fast and
Interceptor
Furious.
would have been a shift from traditionally for Speed as well, because you were playing the cop and we had gadgets and stuff, and that a lot of that was from like the missiles and stuff like that was going to be expanded at some point. We had like the just like you could lay. Could you do it in Hot Pursuit 2? Could you lay the nails spikes in Hot Pursuit 2? Did you do that, Russ?
yes.
Yeah.
And we
Yes,
had
yes,
like
and
we had like
don't
we had
forget
like
the-
we had But we
Don't
had
forget
like
your helicopter.
gadgets in the interceptor where the cops could like, it drop barrels and shit, like fucking Donkey Kong. So stupid, so stupid. Look, we laughed. Okay, we laughed. So like this laugh, we laughed all the time. It was so much fun to make these games. You're right, because as
Oh
much
yeah.
as hard as it was, we were doing stupid shit all the time to see how far we could take it. But I remember like Interceptor, we doing like gadgets. We had like the spike strips would like shoot out the front of your car and stuff. It was, and that might be largely also why there's the desert maps. Some desert maps have come up for Underground 1, Underground 2. Like Interceptor was largely desert based, if I remember correctly. So that might have just got blended in because I mean, Speed Pipeline was just a bunch of shit layered on a bunch of shit, right? It wasn't like nowadays where it's a lot more segregated, a lot more archived.
Speaking of like video games, there was a question out of many actually. What about like canceled pitches, projects, or prototypes that never went? Like, do you guys have anything to talk about like projects that were thought of, were like prototyped or like disappear, like they never worked on?
Well, we kind of
Of
just covered that
Interceptor.
with Italian Job and Fast and the Furious and stuff like that. But yeah, there was actual work put into them, but nothing ever came of them.
I think Scott, I think one time you mentioned about something Need for Speed Ferrari.
Yeah, so yeah, for basically a Need for Speed Ferrari, I was invited to join the Canadians to work on NFS, and they told me that they were going to make a Ferrari game. So I designed a Ferrari game. But when I got there, they said it's Porsche. And so Ferrari went away. So it only exists in game design doc format, and I have it. And I'm happy to share it if you want to see it.
Sure,
But
share
yeah,
it in the chat.
maybe, or I can just put it. I can pin it later in another channel.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I'm a Porsche fan. I'm not a Ferrari fan at all. So I was pretty happy. So
Cool.
to start on Porsche. And if anything, Porsche helped a lot because they were just about to celebrate their 50-year anniversary. So to make a evolution mode was pretty easy.
Here's another question said by Odonata Cinema, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I pronounced that right. Says, why were the racing physics split between the racing and drifting? I guess it's for underground. Why were the physics separated? Was that unable to be to technically combine them both, or? And the second question is like, if you guys were to make an underground game today, what cars will you guys use? So first question is like, why were the physics of for racing and drifting separated? If there were technical limitations, and then why, like, what cars will you guys pick nowadays?
Well, I mean,
9 months.
honestly, Russ can probably speak to this as well. But I mean, we are making a racing game. That's like that's the skin of the game. But we're not focused on real time physics. It is an arcade game. Like we want gameplay first, right? What feels the most fun? It's all about feel. That was the main priority. And I'm sure Russ will have more comments on this, but like the racing that we did, Russ mentioned earlier the off ramps and stuff on the highways in Underground 1. Like if you have that sort of speed and you have to create these like fantastic, roads to be able to drive at these speeds and create that kind of fun, it doesn't translate directly to a drifting track, right? So to be able to, the easiest solution at the time with the short amount of time we have is, hey, let's make custom physics for drifting. Don't just try to tune each one to work together. That would take forever.
Well, it was also the fact that the physics on those old systems was really, really intensive. You didn't have like dedicated physics engines like PhysX or any of that stuff. So we were do-it-yourself physics. So to have a physics model that runs both racing and the physics required for drifting, that would have been just probably a no-go on those systems. I'm sure if we had time, we could have figured it out. But again, 9 months, and we had to have two different physics models because trying to have both of them run at the same time was just a no-go, right?
Well, technically it was 3 because drag racing wasn't exactly normal either. You
Oh,
didn't get
drag
this.
right. Yeah, exactly. That was another physics model itself. Yeah.
Drag racing was a rail shooter, was it not? basically.
Yeah, basically the first month of Need for Speed Underground development was figuring out drift and drag racing. We didn't care about circuits. We didn't even start looking at it. We were just trying to figure those two modes out first. It took about a month.
And if you were to make a new underground game, what cars would you pick?
Oh, a new one? Well, they're all electric cars now, though.
CRX, mid '90s Honda CRX. That's what I would do. And then maybe a mid '80s Honda Civic, like just some real ratty cars. That's what I would do.
I think it'd be much more fun to have, like, you know, a Ford F-150 or a Dodge Grand Caravan.
God,
No, the Hellcat. The Hellcat Pacifica.
but you just mentioned that you don't want to give them the best cars. You'd have to start with just a bare bones Dodge Charger or Challenger or whatever the Hellcat comes from.
I've driven the bare bones Dodge Challenger. I would not wish that upon anyone.
No, I wouldn't either. They're heavy and sluggish. I also
And
drive an electric car now, so I'm
Yeah.
just out of
gotta have a
I'm out of
V8
the game.
or nothing.
Okay, so let me check more questions here. There's so many, and there's so many related to concept arts. Someone asked here if the concept art for Most Wanted was post-apocalyptic. That's that's a new one. That's a new one.
Concept art on Hot Pursuit 2? I've never heard of such a thing.
Yes, yes. It seemed that Most Wanted originally was going to have some sort of a post-apocalyptic style based on the concept art.
Most Wanted?
Most Wanted,
Well,
yeah.
we were blowing up gas stations at the beginning of.
Isn't Most Wanted super washed out too? It's like super washed out, so it looks like it's post-apocalyptic anyway.
It just has peace filter on top of it, but that's really it. It's like I never thought
Exactly.
the
It's the
concept
same
of
filter they use
post-apocalyptic.
in like Mad Max. I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't really deal with concept art until Underground. Underground was very concept art heavy, and that's where Marcus came in.
Well, that's when Habib Zagapur showed up and Nilo Rodis, remember?
Yeah, I do.
Habib Zagapur was the art director on the movie Star Wars Episode 1. He did the pod race. So that guy
that's why
showed up.
So that's
He's
why the
super
cameras look so similar to.
And then Nilo Rodis is the concept artist from Star Wars Episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Who put Princess Leia in that awesome outfit in Jabba the Hutt's thing, by the
So
way.
I won't talk on Habib. I don't know Habib very well. You know, I don't, and you know, I wasn't a super fan. But Nilo, I will say that he's just an amazing
He's
person.
basically
Like
Yoda in real
he's basically
Nilo
Yoda
was,
in real life.
exactly. Nilo was Yoda in real life, without a doubt.
Yeah.
He designed Princess Leia's bikini. He designed Buzz Lightyear. He designed the Nebulon B frigate from Star Wars, is my favorite ship. He designed Slave One, which everybody knows who Slave One is. If anybody knows anything about Star Wars, like he's just an amazing dude. I haven't talked to the guy in 20 years, but great guy. Huge fan.
His Yoda technique was not in how he would answer questions, is how he would ask you questions back at the questions you asked.
Yes, he is Yoda. He gets you to answer the question without asking you the question. He's amazing.
So since we're talking about like you know, people in EA you worked with, so you know, some of us with no lives have been searching through like the Moby games and you know for and video game credits. So have you worked with like names such as say and what can you tell us about people like say was it Eduardo Agostini and then Neil Escuri, or you know, even car designers like Andy Blackmore or other people that you might have known from back then? You know?
I know why Brandon's laughing, because Neil Escuri was basically Magnum PI incarnate, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody loved him.
Yeah, Neil's great.
And yes, we worked with
He's really humble too. That's the best with
Yeah.
Nilo and Neil. Just like super humble. I remember I took my sister for a tour of Black Box and Neil was there. I was like, here's Neil. He was the he was the director of Dinosaurs from Disney. He's like, no. He's like, don't talk about that. Super humble guy. Just wanted to work on the next best stuff.
Yeah, he was great.
Remember, Moby Games it's not super accurate. It's a little bit accurate. There's a lot of missing information on Moby game. So
I think Scott answered my question already, but it's the same thing related to what my friend Castle asked. It's like, have you guys worked with Hanno Lemke?
Yeah,
yes,
he was my boss on Need for Speed Porsche, but he wasn't never there because he was too busy dealing with the PlayStation 1 version that was being done by Eden in France.
Who is that? I missed the name.
Hanno
Hanno.
Lemke, the guy that
Oh,
ran.
Hanno. Yeah, Hanno was the guy that we pulled into the office at 6 in the morning to tell him that we're leaving. Because we actually really liked and respected Hanno a lot, and he was the guy that we didn't want to be taken by surprise because we wanted to be upfront and honest with him and told him, we'll get you guys to E3 with Most Wanted, but then we're out, and we just did that as it was a really heartfelt meeting. Like Hanno was a good guy. We really liked Hanno.
Yeah, he wasn't very good for my career though. He didn't do any. He literally disappeared for Porsche. PC was just me and a couple other guys just getting it done. And the PlayStation 1 version was
He
him.
wasn't really present for Hot Pursuit or anything. He was
He
a
had nothing.
voice that would pop up every now and then.
Well, yeah,
dictate.
he wasn't on Hot Pursuit 2 because he was on Agent Under Fire. So he was working with the Californians because they were doing the shooter part. So he basically
Right.
disappeared from Need for Speed forever, pretty much.
Let me look up here another question because there's so much fluff in here. Kind of weird questions. Hidden tracks. Like there's an oval circuit in Underground 2. Can someone recall that? It's like a whole oval with a circle in the middle. Let me post it in the chat for reference. But this is weird. It does looks made up. But I did saw this track.
there's
So
an
it's on the
oval
chat.
in the chat. How
Yeah,
far
it's
up
an
do I have to
oval
go
right
here?
there in the chat. Like someone posted, I said, what was that?
How far up do I have to go here?
Oh yeah, wasn't this like found in like the game file or like in the game? Just a random oval.
That
Oh,
looks like
just
NASCAR. That looks like
yeah, I was gonna say anything less than
Talladega.
NASCAR. Yeah, that would have been totally NASCAR because the whole speed pipeline started and was built around the PlayStation 1 NASCAR that black box did. When I first started at Black Box, I was on that very briefly, just on the finishing of NASCAR. But that engine is what carried through and became the speed pipeline. So the oval doesn't surprise me at all. It definitely came from NASCAR.
Yeah, there's many tracks like this. This is kind of obscure. There's one that's called Lighting Test, and it's just this. Like,
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember
oh, you
that one.
do?
That was the one. Yeah, because we were trying to figure out like vertex baking was kind of neat, but it didn't get us shadows or anything, and we needed to really test how can we get shadows and like really accurate, like almost ray trace looking shadows without because there's no ray tracing or anything, and we used that to figure out how we can combine vertex colors with hand placed shadow maps. So basically, you're rendering out a portion of the track just to have tree shadows and then overlaying the polys of the track with the shadow textures on top of it, which of course sucked on PlayStation because if anybody paid close attention, you would notice that there were never any shadows on any shiny parts of the road. So any part of the road that had to have reflections, you could not have a shadow because the sorting just would not allow for it. Like the alpha sorting, that just wasn't a thing. So if we had wet parts of the road, you would not put a shadow over that, for example. So the lighting had to be actually very carefully planned around how the world was made.
That sounds really hard. It's like having to work with the shadows. But here's another one. The user posted multiple. This is for Underground 1. If anyone remembers any of this, this one is called like Darko, Drift of Darko, Coastal Test. Like
Oh,
weird
I
stuff.
remember all of those. Absolutely, I remember all of those. I can't. So wait, are you telling me when people cracked open the final version, like the shipped version of the game, they're finding all of these?
All
Yeah,
of these. You have
there's a
no
idea
idea how
there's a
modding in
lot
Need
of
for Speed is.
leftovers.
I'm telling you, there's a
Oh,
whole website there was a whole website called Need for Speed Theories where people will just like grab textures and say, oh well, this circle says acid test or something. Maybe it meant like want to make a whole theory about a single texture. So this is like, you know,
I know this is like out
oh
of your.
dear
This is
Lord.
like there was like in Carbon, right? This is like out of your scope, but like in Carbon, right? There's like city vistas in the background, which I assumed was just for decor, but like everyone was like, oh my gosh, this is Mystery City.
yeah,
So it's like
everyone
there's sort
makes
of
theories. You know, it's
yeah.
like
So like it's this is sort of thing that's like been going on for like especially like since Underground 1, where it's like people just see some detail in the files or in the game. It's like there's a theory behind it, or like there's probably some meaning behind it, and I don't know. Maybe you guys can explain
yeah.
some of the
Please
stuff.
explain
I
this
no,
stuff.
I'm just shocked that all this stuff is still in there, and it makes me wonder. The fact that I haven't heard that there was a penis and balls track found tells me that okay, so I did never submit that, but I used to have it just on my machine. This is penis and ball. And it was a racetrack, and it was actually kind of fun, especially when you came to where the balls joined up, because you had to really cut that corner tight. It was actually kind of a fun track, but I obviously must not have submitted it because by the sounds of it, it totally would have been found.
Yeah, there's another one. It's called Drift of Fish. You know, and there are many tracks in here that
Oh,
are like connected.
oh, that's got to be you. That's got your name all over it.
Mhm.
Yeah, this
My
one.
last name
Let me
is
post it.
if anybody's recognized my last name is Cohoe, which is and my name here is here Fishy Fishy. My last name Cohoe is the type of salmon. People called me fish, so I was never a
That
huge
is
fan of it, but it is what it is, and this might be my track. I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. Come on, a track called Drift of Fish. That's totally got to
Yeah,
be you.
yeah, but it could
yeah.
also been like thirsty or something, like building something and just naming something after me. Very similar to the headphones poster in Underground One. Like
Yeah, but not many of the artists were terribly like super capable of just setting up a track for whatever
no,
purpose. So that's got to
it's
be you.
quite the blast from the past with this stuff. It's funny.
Oh, I'm still reeling the fact that all these tracks were actually shipped in the product. I can't even imagine what else is in there.
Quite a lot
That
actually.
is-
That's why everyone's been asking about like beta content or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
There's
like
that's
a
why
lot.
like
like
I talked about my head earlier. Like I know we had to remove them, but I actually don't know if I removed them from Perforce, and I guess we would have shipped everything on disc. So maybe my head
yeah,
is
Yeah,
still.
There's
there's
yeah.
like
also, for
leftovers as
example,
well. Leftovers as well of like the Honda S2000. I mean, not sorry, not the S, like the Acura NSX in Underground 1, I believe.
Underground too.
Underground 2.
Yeah.
Underground 2. Oh, sorry, yeah,
So
yeah.
Wayne, who was the lead car artist, had an NSX, so it was going to be, he really wanted it in the game. It might have even got modeled at some point. I imagine he would have modeled it,
Yeah.
but I guess it didn't make it.
Geez, I wonder if stuff like what was the Gary, when Gary, he was the junior artist and he
Gary
did
Lai?
basketball. Was it Gary Lai where he did the basketball court and almost got fired for it
Oh
because it
no,
was
no, no! That was Luke on Most Wanted.
Luke Villanueva?
So
Oh, Luke Villanueva, yeah.
Luke
It,
Villanueva. So he did a Dallas. He was doing the one of the outdoor basketball hoops that you drive by, or basketball uh, courts that you
court.
drive by in a split second, and he put a Dallas Mavericks logo on it because he was a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. You can't do that. Just like Scott talked about licensed cars earlier, you can't just take a Star Wars logo and put in your game. You can't just ship, a
But the reason I
Pokemon.
brought that up, but the reason I brought that up is that texture still in there with all the content.
Texture. Oh no, it's shipped. It's shipped because it was caught after we shipped, and we had to make a deal with the NBA. So Dallas Mavericks logo is
Oh,
in the
that's
game.
right. That's right. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so that isn't right. Yeah, that kid almost got fired for it.
So if anybody has Most Wanted, pull it up and see if you can find the Dallas Mavericks outdoor basketball
It's right.
courts.
There's a
Where is it?
basketball court. There's a basketball court right next to a Burger King. It's that one.
So Burger King. It's insane.
How do you remember that? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, how do you remember that? I have no idea.
Oh, because the
Here's
world, I was very, very intimate with the world, as you well know. There wasn't an inch of that world that didn't get touched by me for one reason or another.
You missed the logo.
You missed the Dallas Mavericks
No,
logo.
I did not miss the Mavericks logo. I just never thought about it. Right? I
Well,
never
wait, no,
thought about.
that was on Most Wanted though, and Russ has left Most Wanted,
Oh
halfway
yeah,
through
yeah.
or whatever. So that's
What
fair.
was? No, the Dallas Mavericks.
Dallas
That was
Mavericks?
totally. That was an underground too. It was
Oh,
right
was it?
next to the.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I remember it, because I remember getting pulled in and asked if we should be firing this kid for that. I was like, what? Really? That's crazy. No, that's not. Because he was a good kid.
Here's two
Oh, he's
questions
not.
actually, more for maps, more related for maps. There's one that's the Hot Pursuit 2 Desert. That I think we asked Scott way too much about it. The Chrome Victorias in Most Wanted, that there were actually 4 Chrome Victorias and then they got changed. I don't know why. And then there's another one called Tech Park, which is just a line. It's literally just a line here, all in the chat that you can see.
Are they talking about in Hot Pursuit 2? Because that's the only place I remember a desert.
Yeah, that's Hot Pursuit 2, but the prototype. There was a prototype that appeared online, and this was a track that never made it to the final game.
I wonder if that was the Triangle Nightmare, because that track was done by this awesome little team in San Francisco that I would visit them every month to check their progress and stuff. A fella named Daniel Cyberling headed up that studio,
Oh,
and
yes.
they were working on stuff, and they sent their first version of the track, and it was all triangulated, and it was because they used this tool in 3ds Max that allowed you to make terrains very quickly, but they were not meant for real time game engines, and that was an utter nightmare. So obviously it got checked in and it was in the game. I wonder if that's the track.
It's terrible. Like also in game, it just looks so rough, and it also has like a test parking lot, huge parking lot, and it's all you can see the polygons. You can see all the entire polygons from the surfaces and all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that was the one. That was a nightmare that took us quite a bit of time to sort out. Like we shut down the desert track a couple of weeks, and I think Cohoe, you were part of the cleanup.
Possibly. Honestly, don't remember.
And
Uh,
then we,
I have a question on my end. So as someone who's worked with, from games from like the fifth generation and the sixth generation, so in the fifth generation games, especially Porsche Unleashed, we saw like completely different versions from the PS1 and the PC version, and then going into the sixth generation onward after Hot Pursuit 2, the games are kind of unified. Is that like a hardware based thing or mostly a studio based thing? You think,
But
can you
it's
tell us
both.
like, and alternatively, can you like how different was it like to develop, say, to work on Porsche Unleashed versus just a few years later you were working on with like much more modern DirectX system or whatnot? Because like
Well,
you
with
know,
Like
Porsche Unleashed was still EA, whereas Hot Pursuit 2 was Black Box. So we did not have any shared technology. So, and I remember the pain that the engineers went through integrating Xbox when Xbox first came out, integrating that into the speed pipeline. Ironically, the funniest part, I don't know if Brendan and Scott remember this, but the dev kits for the first Xbox were actually Apple computers.
Yeah, I
yes,
remember.
the Apple G3 was it? I think I saw some online documentation about it. They were like
Yeah, it was
this
something like,
gigantic.
yeah, and those were the first Xbox dev kits, which was hilarious.
Imagine Xbox, Microsoft's giving Apple. There you go. That's how they do it.
Yeah,
um,
the
that
NC
was comical. Yes, it was definitely differences in technology. And Black Box was not married, and then I think EA was gonna integrate Speed Pipeline into everything, and then they bought. Who did they buy?
nice.
The
Criterion
Codename Eagle. Yeah, they bought Dice, and then EA
or
kind of
Dice. Yeah.
crammed Dice
Frost,
down everybody's throat at EA, but I wasn't there for that.
yeah, Frostbite was forced down everyone's throat.
Frostbite, that's it. Yeah, they were
Here's
just starting to tinker with Frostbite during Most Wanted.
When Need for
we're
Speed went
doing.
to Ghost games, that's when Frostbite showed up, and that's when things went bad.
Yeah,
I was
that's
Well,
when the
actually.
things went to the shitter. Honestly,
It wasn't it. Oh no, wait. Wasn't it the Run also ran on Frostbite? Actually, Need for Speed the Run 2011. It
yeah,
ran on it ran on like Frostbite.
it ran on some nonsense. Anyways, here's one car. Many I don't know if you Black Box can recognize because this is this RX-8. Apparently, it was Rachel's original car. Like, is there a reason why they went from an RX-8 or a Lancer into a 350Z? Like, what happened in the middle? Like, can anyone recall that?
I
Or
wasn't
Underground
there.
2?
Scott would be the
Sorry.
only person that could answer that. I was
No.
pretty heads down. That's
No, I didn't get to do anything underground too. I decided not to stick around after the crunch.
Yeah, speaking about that, some people have been asking, how bad was it truly? Like the crunch during, like, how bad was it?
Well,
I'm on 7 days a week.
it depends on how you look at it. I mean, at the time, it was not uncommon at all. It was pretty industry standard. But I would say with Black Box compared to BioWare, like at BioWare, it was a complete and utter misery. At Black Box, we like so many people loved what they were doing, and we got extreme. Like I used to pack a suitcase for a couple of days for staying at the office, but I don't ever recall being begrudged by it, except for at the end when it's just cleanup nonsense. But developing it, like a lot of us kind of enjoyed that shit. Like some of the all-nighters that we had were absolutely hilarious. We had such good times on those. Like pretty much the development of at least Hot Pursuit 2 and Underground 1 for sure. We had a lot of fun, regardless of the hours. We just loved doing it.
Yeah, the team was amazing.
Listen, said that you guys talk about having fun, and then if you read any interview post Need for Speed Pro Street, everything is bad. Everything is like nightmare for licensing, nightmare for working, nightmare for like everything is bad. Like literally, there's one
Yeah, but
developer for Need for
that's
Speed
just
Rivals that had it.
that's just the industry in general. And not to say I'm again very fortunate to have the career I've had, but it's just it's kind of like, maybe I'm a cynic now, but every industry, including games, is everything's money driven now, right? So every decision you hear about in the corporate structure is based on what's going to make us the most money. In fact, that RX-8 slash 350Z or whatever conversation that was probably a money driven conversation or a money driven decision that was out of our hands. That
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was
stuff.
just under the assumption that every car decision in all the Need for Speeds I worked on were money driven.
No, not the ones I did.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just saying that was my assumption. I don't know if
underground was
that was reality.
underground
Like
one.
and we talked about executive producers and stuff involved, but when you're at that level, the car manufacturers, everybody always wants a voice, right? Because they want to be a part of it, and it happened all the time. And I remember one story I mentioned earlier is that we had the Ford Thunderbird in which one was Ford Thunderbird? Was it HP2 Ford Thunderbird? Did that ever ship the
Yeah,
Ford Thunderbird? Do you guys remember that at all?
Never
But
had a
no,
Ford.
it's not in the game, but we had it.
I'm pretty sure we had the Ford Thunderbird at some point, and Ford came back and said, "Oh, the angles on the roof was wrong or something." So the artist just took the camera and shifted the camera and sent it back, and it was approved. Like they just have to have an opinion. It doesn't mean their opinion's right or wrong. It just, a lot of times they have to have an opinion.
Yeah, the
They even
Thunderbird was.
had manufacturers used to have opinions on the world for Pete's sake, and most of them got disregarded. But some of them were expressing their concerns with parts of the world and how it would make their cars look in the world. It was absurd.
And speaking of
Yeah.
that, there's a question here that actually says what was the worst licensing or license to get or to work with, and how did that affect like vehicles like this? Was there a vehicle you mentioned the Thunderbird, but was there another vehicle that you had in that you really liked, and then like the license just said nope, you can't have this?
No, there were no cars that were rejected by any manufacturers, but in Hot Pursuit, it was literally certain cars you couldn't have cops chasing
Yeah.
or breaking windshields. Like, but we never had an issue where the manufacturer would say, "No, we don't want to be in your game." They always want
No.
money. and the industry wasn't really at that point. Like Gran Turismo started the trend where manufacturers were now interested in actually looking to put their cars in the game, but Need for Speed hadn't reached that level yet. It was still one of the minor league games.
As a matter of fact, we referred to Gran Turismo commonly as the 800-pound gorilla that we were constantly supposed to be chasing for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that brings me to a small question because I remember Scott talking about how concerned EA was with SRS of all games when Underground 2 when that was being announced. So like did you guys have like a competition to target with like when building the games or who did you see competition?
It was just competition. Like there was, I think Midnight Club was actually a bit more competition for us, but neither game was a Need for Speed style game. Like it didn't have what I would call the heart of Need for Speed. It was a good racing game. Like Blur is a good racing game, but it doesn't, But then you look at Need for Speed. It's like, what is Need for Speed? Well, it doesn't really have an identity. There's many different iterations of Need for Speed. Like I don't like Need for Speed Shift. It's not a Need for Speed game at all. It's just a rebrand. For me, but Underground and Hot Pursuit 2, if you put them next to each other, they feel like completely different games, but they both feel like Need for Speed. It's just, you just kind of know, right?
You may not realize a lot of these projects are done in parallel, right? We don't know what they're doing. They don't know what we're doing. We had the bridge jump in Underground 2 before Fast and Furious 2 came out. And then Fast and Furious 2 came out. We're like, everybody's gonna say we stole the bridge jump, but we already had it.
Yeah, that took forever to do.
Yeah, because everyone here everyone here first watched Fast and Furious, and then when we saw Underground, we pretty much call Underground Fast and Furious inspired, which is like, well, it exists because of it. Yeah.
Maybe it was
And then when we saw
UG1.
the jump, when we saw the bridge jump, we all go like, "Oh, and that's some Fast and Furious." But now you're saying that you had it first.
One of the funniest things was we had a huge fan in Underground, and that huge fan, being Vin Diesel, he had to come to see the studio.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that man is actually very short.
When you look over the cubes at EA, he wasn't the height of the cube. I think the cubes are like 5'7".
Yeah, it was crazy how short he was. I was like, really? And then to find out that Tom Cruise is shorter still.
No,
What? It's the camera effect.
No, Bus, do you remember in Underground 1, we had the bridge jump after the Chinatown, right? We were trying to animate it. We ended up not animating it, but I think that was because we were doing multiplayer racing online and we couldn't sync the bridge, right?
Well, it was, well, the problem was the animated part of it. It was like transitioning from animation back to physics we had spent so much time trying to do that, and we couldn't, whereas animation would guarantee the outcome. But then I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was Chuck. He did not like the idea that we were planning an outcome, and was more than happy with whatever happens should happen. And I can't remember what the outcome of that was, but
the bridge just became static, and it was just a jump. If you crash, we had to put you further back when you reset, so you could actually have enough speed to clear it at a different time.
That's right. Yeah.
Here's one guy here, or one woman, sorry, posted where drift events supposed to be most wanted, and they share a concept art saying Need for Speed Most Wanted Alpine Drift Track concept, and it looks like a mansion.
I have no recollection. I have no recollection of that.
Well, I'm gonna assume that we had a hand in that, because when we were starting Most Wanted, we were under the impression that it was going to go back to various locales, not be just one big giant traversable city. And that kind of came as a relief, not because we hated the city, but it was like I kind of missed that whole thing from Need for Speed where you had these different realms. And I was happy to hear that was probably going to come back. And then it didn't, obviously, but we did poke at it for a while.
Yeah,
So
looking at this,
I did ship Most Wanted. I don't know. I hate to change my camera here all the time, but I did ship Most Wanted. But
Either way.
honestly, I don't remember. I remember less about Most Wanted than I remember of any other project, Need for Speed project. I don't know what it was. I guess I was just checked out, burnt out. I don't know what it was. I literally remember nothing. I remember The
There's
Office. That's it.
a signature in this most wanted concept art that was shared with the Alpine Drift track. G Buzzard is the
Oh,
signature
guys,
that I see here.
That's
Yeah.
That's correct.
I just talked to Garth the other day. He came from the Bond team. He was one of the first people they sent over to us from the Bond team when after EA purchased us. He is a very, very large man.
He is. He's very nice. Yeah,
But
he was. He
he's
did
a super
concept work
teddy
on
bear.
Porsche, and then when Bond showed up, he did a bunch of that, and then he moved over to Black Box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one guy asking,
And
what was the original name of Rockport?
Which
probably
doesn't
something obscene.
Yeah, because there's a police cruiser over here. Oh, why does this Chihuahua Peaks or something? I don't know.
I know someone probably had it. Actually, that's probably actually that could, if that's anything, it'd most likely be Curtis Hoynes because he had Chihuahuas. And he
Oh,
was a
right.
car. Yeah, so that's probably why it's Chihuahua Peak because of Dave, his Chihuahua.
Geez,
That's really
didn't,
And
that,
Lulu.
didn't
that's
Need for
really
Speed
funny.
drive Curtis out of games? Didn't Curtis leave games because of Need for Speed?
He was making like our movie props and stuff like that, like Batman masks. And
Oh, my bad. It's not Chihuahua. It's Chitaqua or Chitaqua Peaks.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
still,
That sounds
That's
that sounds more like a Russell thing because Russell likes the Mexican culture. That definitely sounds like a Russ thing.
Well, one
Oh,
thing that people know is
that's why I was wondering how much stuff is in there because there should probably be some material in there that is pretty obscene. We
one.
didn't really have any limits to our sense of humor. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, we had
One thing that people don't know is that during Need for Speed Underground 1, we stole all the track artists from the UK that were working on a Lamborghini game.
Oh, and incidentally, as a sidebar, guess I'm working with Middleman right now on Hogwarts.
Oh yeah, are
so
you?
Yeah, he was one of the UK guys that we stole. We brought how many of them did we bring over? 6 or 8?
6.
6 of them. Yeah, we brought in 6 of them, and they immediately became part of the family. Like every single one of them. And man, did they drink hard every night.
Can you name them? We got Neil, Adam,
Yeah,
Nigel.
yeah.
Who else? Matt. Matt wasn't part of that group.
No. Who's the guy that married Jocelyn? Jocelyn Fung. Andrew.
Oh, Andrew Weber.
Well, something like that. But yeah,
I
so
can't remember.
Andrew. So that's another one. Who are we forgetting? Who's the guy with the glasses? The crazy guy, the punk rock guy.
I don't remember. It's too long
It
ago.
was crazy. He's a total punk. Fuck. He was the guy that drove everybody drinking. He was the guy that, yeah, when we went out for dinner, he was the guy that, shots after shots after shots. He was the crazy man. He was a world artist. What was his name? Damn it. I think he stayed in Canada.
We had to look for Need for Speed Underground credits.
Yeah.
oh, there's wait, hold on. There's so many questions because I was looking at the Discord channel and we pretty much like burn almost everything, but they're dropping new ones in this in the chat and they're
Yeah.
better. They're better. Honestly, there's like some insane questions. Like there's one that says, wait, I had it here and it just got deleted. No, I think it was Scott who dropped it a Lamborghini name. Like you were working on a Lamborghini video game, and two. Has anyone who worked on Motor City Online was involved or met with you guys? That's like two questions. It's like first one the Lamborghini game, and second one is like Motor City. You know, anything related to Motor City.
If I might add in a third one, someone when in early like Need for Speed Underground 1 like test stuff, like was an HSV considered for Underground 1? Because there's like some test stuff with like an HSV in it. That's like a stand-in for like Eddie Skyline as well.
I don't remember any of that.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Okay, so the first one is fuck, I lost it. Lamborghini game. What was that? Someone mentioned a Lamborghini game,
Yes,
and
the track artists that we brought over, they were working in the UK on Lamborghini game. I don't know. I don't think it was a Need for Speed branding game. I think it was just a Lamborghini game. But we needed track artists that knew what they were doing, and
right.
underground became a priority. So we flew them out, and they basically lived in Vancouver for 3, 4 months and got drunk
It
a
was
lot.
long. It was long. It was longer than that. It was
It
like
was
6
longer
months.
than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were put up at a pretty like it was fun to go out and party with them because they had really nice hotel rooms and it was all service. So I don't know how much that cost EA, but it was a lot.
Then we have the Motor City questions. Has any of you guys ever or play Motor City Online or work with Motor City Online people?
I did play it,
I don't. I
but
may have worked with some people, but
yeah, it was mostly the EA Seattle guys that were doing that. I stopped
Yeah,
playing it because the model of the 1968 Dodge Charger was horrendously bad, and the cars were undrivable when they were stock.
Yeah, yeah, they were all in Via's Fly. Um, Classford, you did ask a question.
Yeah,
Um,
was the HSV ever considered for Underground One since it was like there were some like test cutscenes,
No,
apparently as a stand-in. Yeah, so that's a resounding no. And there's another question: what is the story behind the Core X NFS Most Wanted video found in the bonus DVD? It's very different but still familiar in some areas. I'll relink the YouTube video here. It's in the
yeah,
chat. This
it's
one,
the
the Core X trailer. So,
it's
like,
a
what's the story
Porsche
behind that one?
racing, a Porsche racing as the police.
Yeah, and there's
So
like an early Most Wanted logo as well in there. Like a lot of early stuff, I assume.
well, if anything, that would have been Habib because if there's one thing that you can say about Habib, that guy worked his ass off. He worked to impress, and he made so much stuff that never got used, but because he was just experimenting with the directions that we could go with, and he did a lot of work. So I wouldn't surprise me if that was one of those things.
I say Habib absolutely nailed it. The entire personality of Most Wanted. It's like dirty, grounded. It's really cool. Like Most Wanted is one of the best put art styles in the game, in my opinion. Someone said more questions about the map. So someone said that Most Wanted apparently almost had an airport and a subway system, and then Underground 2 almost had a desert track. What can anyone say about that?
I don't
I'm
recall the desert ever in Underground 2, because all I remember was instantly we knew it was going to be successful, and then it was successful, and all we knew was that city was just going to be much larger, and we had already talked about because we were developing the pipeline to make a city like that possible in the first place, and we were already talking about how can we make this that much bigger because. Brandon, do you remember how much bigger Underground 2 was than Underground 1?
I honestly I couldn't remember. I know like I remember we did you did like a top down paste cut and paste at one point, and it was like 4 times the size. I mean, don't these guys have
Well,
maps?
yeah, it was something like at full bore doing the outer circle at one point. It took 45 minutes to do the outer circle at full bore, driving a fast car at top speed. It was like 45. It was huge compared to Underground 1. But we had to,
I mean,
I don't recall
wasn't
any being.
Underground originally designed to be open world, and then we had to change it to limitations?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was just strictly PS2 limitations on that for sure. There was no real such thing as streaming. Like we remember the regions, what were they called? Visible sections. Remember, visible sections was all our own invention because there was no such
Yeah.
thing as streaming. And
Okay, so
those were text files.
So we're gonna have like a little wrap. We're gonna have like Aids Leo question, the guy who's gonna revive Motor City Online at gunpoint. Then we're gonna let Scott talk about his project because he really wants to show something really cool that I like. So Aids Leo says, how much of Most Wanted was based on Bond or vice versa? Says, I spent too much time reverse engineering stuff and found a lot of overlap, but I'm curious which came first. My first understanding is that Bond came first, and a lot of the code for things like pathfinding and collisions was taken directly from it. And then the
Couldn't
second
tell you,
question.
honestly.
Bond,
I couldn't tell you any of that stuff.
yeah, Bond had nothing
Bond
to
came
do with.
first, but
Yeah, Bond came first for sure, but I mean, you're talking about the huge portion of that team were people that worked on the Bond project, so that would explain that to me.
Okay, and then the second question says, do you know anything about how the front-end interfaces were made? In Hot Pursuit 2 for PS2, it looks like the UI system was called Flyler, and then in Underground 1 saw the introduction of the FANG system, the FANG system. Almost nothing is known about how interfaces were actually built. I have a configuration file for some kind of editor, but that's about it.
It was all custom configuration. In fact, that was kind of the UI system was kind of separate from Speed Pipeline ish, but it was all done with custom tools and everything. Like, yeah, that was we didn't have any sort of front end system, and EA kind of had one. So on Most Wanted, I remember they were trying because EA's front end system was way more robust than what anything we ever had. So I remember they were wanting to integrate that for Most Wanted, and I think they got there. But yeah, it was the UIs were almost separate entity than the whole rest of the production, pretty much.
Right.
Like, like Brendan, do you remember anybody who worked on AI or UI at
not
Black
Nigel.
Box?
Not Nigel would have done the graphics at some point. The actual tech, no clue.
Yeah,
Sounds like
no,
something Steven would have done or something.
Also, yeah, the credits for Motor Cities does not exist. Like literally, I tried to find the credits of the game even inside the game, and there's nothing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
took
that's
a look
weird.
at Reddit as well. Like there's just non-existent. So as
No,
far as I've seen.
nobody made the game. It's just spawned. Anyways, Scott, do you want to show us your stuff?
Yeah, but
I,
you're gonna have to share the screen because I can't.
Oh yeah, please,
you do it.
if you can,
Plus
yeah,
for
yeah,
you do it. You do it.
yeah, if you can send it over to me or
I
in
sent
that
it to.
DM that we have.
Do I
It's
have? Hang on. I thought I sent it to the other guy. Hang on.
Also, there's there's a lot of questions that are still like unanswered. So if you guys like, I don't know if we're going to have like a second session with more developers or not. You are free to reply to any of the questions on the Black Box AMA, and the AMA channel, and go one by one or anything, and just reply to them. We're gonna keep it open for a week top, and then we're gonna archive it. Like, anyone can access it, but it's gonna be archived. No more questions can be poured into. And
okay.
someone said,
I will
"Oh, no,
share
yeah. For the moment,
this
no more
now.
questions."
Yeah, so this is the thing that Scott wants to show. Just let me know if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Okay. So what I'm doing is very different. That's not the final logo, but it is the final name. If you're wondering why, it's because in video games, a character is usually in a combat state or an idle state or anything AI related. So right now you're in a drive state. So it's not the final logo, but it is the final name. Next slide. All right. So what is the game? It's kind of not a game. It's kind of more like a client that matches races together via server browser, determines what content you own, and then allows you to host a public or private race. And that can be a single race or a series of races. So if you want to set up a tournament with a bunch of your friends, you create basically a race list, so 10 tracks, and then go race. Create a private server and go play. So it's all about picking a car, picking a track, picking a supported game mode, hosting a server, and go race. Next slide. All right, what is it not? No effing narrative, no cutscenes, none of that crap, because it's tiny. There's no ranking system. There's no track editor. It's Unreal. And I don't know if it'll be 5.8, but it will be 5.7, mostly because 5.8 has just changed the landscape technology. Tournaments, you host your own. You just create a private server and do whatever you want with it. There won't be an extensive anti-cheat system, so the public servers will probably get hammered by cheats. So try to avoid those. And maybe there'll be cops, but maybe there won't. But there will be traffic. There's no spectating mode. But most importantly, there's no subscriptions, there's no battle passes, no achievements, and there isn't a publisher telling us what to do, because it's me. Right, so the way that it works is you buy it in Steam. It's going to cost $5 most likely. You'll have one screen. It'll tell you what you own, the car and track gallery. You can buy cars there, or you can go to the external web shop and buy them. So that's cars, car wraps, and tracks that you buy. If you want to race, you just go to the server list, you pick your car, it will filter the list by your car, the events that you can go to, can play in, and then you just go to the pre-race lobby, like a Fortnite lobby, and then the host will start the races accordingly. If you want to host something, depends on whether you own the track or not, you can still host a race on a track you don't own. You basically set that up. You launch it as either a public or private server. The V2 will have the ability to do multiple races, so not just one at a time. So, and then you'd have to go back to the server listing. You could set up 10, and then you complete and then go back. But that's literally all it is. It's tiny. It's just a matchmaking device. Next slide. All right, so at launch, obviously, there needs to be some content. So I'm going to get some cars made, and you're going to be able to pick all the different colors. You're going to have a few track locations with the race settings fully unlocked. That means you can pick 100 laps if you want to, in the rain, at nighttime, in reverse. All of those settings will be available to you because you own it. And obviously there'll be a bunch of free wraps. And they'll be able to set up public races at any time. We'll always have those hosted. You can disable the bots, you can disable the traffic. Now the idea being is that there's going to be a whole lot of UGC content in there that you're going to be able to buy at launch. But the cars you'll always get for free, but you'll only get one skin, the white one. The tracks you'll get for free, but you'll only be able to pick one direction, one time of day, one weather. If it's point to point, it might only be half the track, but you at least get to play it. And obviously there'll be a whole bunch of wraps. Next slide. So for the $5 that you get in the beginning, that's what you get. But in 6 months' time, it could be, instead of 3 cars and a couple of UGC cars, there's now 100 UGC cars. And remember, you get them for free, but they're still white. If you want to make them look pretty, spend some money, and it won't be much. The 10 tracks, limited race setting. So you're basically, your $5 is now 4 times as much content, because we give it away for free. Not the wraps, though. You got to pay for those. Next one. All right, so ideally, we would direct all the purchases outside of the game, but I think legally we have to put them in the game too. The reason being, Steam steals takes 30%. So ideally, you go to the web shop, you buy it there. That means the person that's selling that content will get the full amount and not 70%. And what I mean by the person selling it, go to the next slide. So the idea being is that we're going to keep the cost of the client to a very minimum. So we would only need to sell maybe 1,000 copies a month to cover the dev costs, because all of the content that is going to be created by the UGC is going to be paid for extremely well, because without that, the game doesn't really exist. So the biggest thing is obviously I need to cover some costs. So like if you provide a car and we need to tune it and put the audio on it and stuff like that, and just general stuff, I'm going to take 5%. You're going to get to keep 95% minus the car licensing costs. And I don't know what they're going to be. So that needs to be figured out. Ideally, it would be something just based upon sales. So if we get Lamborghini and they want 20%, you're paying the 20%, but you also get to keep 75%. And there isn't a game out there or ecosystem that does that. Next slide. So if you make a car, and obviously the way cars work is if you license Volkswagen, you don't license Volkswagen and get all their cars. You have to license a specific model from Volkswagen. And that's where the costs can go a bit crazy. So what I would do is I would provide a list, or you would request a certain car and I would try and go get it for you. Yes, you guys would request a car to be in the game. If I can get it, I will get it for you. And then you can go model it and put it in the game and make money on it. Now, if you make a car, you don't really get money for the car because everyone gets it for free. You get money when they buy the paint for it. And you don't even have to do any work for that. We literally provide the materials. and you just put it on your car. And if someone buys that for $1, then you get 95% of $1. If a person makes a wrap that goes on your car, you get a cut of that wrap because, well, their wrap wouldn't exist if your car didn't exist. So you need to get a bit of their money too. Tracks is going to be the biggest one. They're obviously going to take the most amount of time. 90%, 95% of the sale price to unlock that track will be for you, and tracks will most likely be expensive. So they're not going to be wraps. Wraps could be 20 cents. Tracks will most likely be $5 or something like that. And obviously tracks, if an artist just provides a good looking track, we still have to tune it. We still need to put audio on it. We still need to put physics tags. So that 5% is going to cover whatever we need to do. And then hopefully that 5% will be reduced over time if the game goes really well. So next slide. If things go really bad, nobody buys the game, no UGC sales are low, we're kind of screwed, but the dev costs are so low, that's not too bad. It just means that we haven't gotten popular yet. Second worst case is that we don't sell enough copies to cover the dev costs. That means I need to borrow some money from you guys, the UGC people, if the UGC sales are enough to cover the costs. So basically that 95% is after the dev costs are covered, which is why I want the dev costs to be extremely low to make sure that they are covered every month. If the premium sales are okay, dev costs are covered, any extra money goes in the rainy day jar, just in case a month where they're not covered, and then I can make sure that you still get your 95%. In our wildest dreams, 1 million people show up. We're set for life. We can do anything we want. It's not my game, it's our game. Okay, next slide. So if you're a UGC person and you want to make a track and you sell it for $5 and 2,000 copies of that track is sold, that means you've earned $9,500. Go pay the tax man. Same thing with wraps. You could make a bunch of wraps. Wraps are easy to make. I would literally provide you a texture for the car that you want to put it on. You make a wrap, you put it in the game, and you make money with it. Just don't use AI, please. You may need to make sure you own the content that you're making. And then obviously wrap creator, they make wraps, they need to give a portion to the car because they made the car, and that guy kind of gets screwed over because I'm giving it away for free. So, you know, I don't know how much things should cost, but we'll figure that out together when it's ready. Next slide. So what could the game be? Well, at the beginning, it's going to be Need for Speed. Why? Because, well, it's my game and I can make tracks for Need for Speed quite easily. I've got people in the audience that are going to help me as well. But what it can be is pretty much anything you want. All it's doing is launching a game mode in Unreal. If you want to make Mario Kart, you can make Mario Kart. If you want to do rally, you can do rally. If you want to do drift, sim racing, bikes, trucks, anything you want. We're going to use the F-Gear engine. So that's a fairly common physics engine. In industry, you just go, here it is. I want to put it in the game. I'll have a group of people, some of the guys here. We'll figure out, is it good to go? And then we'll just put it in the game. And you can tell me you want to sell it for $10. I'll put it in for $10. It's like Roblox or Amazon. I'm basically providing you a place to sell your content, and I'm giving you as much money as I possibly can. Because without your content, there is no game. So you literally make the cars, tracks, wraps, trends, subcultures, game modes, anything you want. It's an ecosystem for the community, and it costs a tiny amount to create it. But it could become like this big. It could become twice the size of Forza. You could have 500 cars. If we get enough money, I'll go out. I'm trying to license literally every manufacturer possible. So if you guys want a specific car, I can go get it. But that's a lot of work, and there's a lot of legal fees involved. So it's going to take a while. Next slide. So if you want, if this sounds pretty cool, in a few months when we've got it running, then we'll have a play testing, we'll have some cartooning. I need to set up community leaders, moderators, the whole thing. This is happening because I want it to happen. It needs to happen. Need for Speed needs to come back. But it's not just Need for Speed. It's anything you guys want it to be. And I think that's the last slide.
Yep, it is. I'm pressing. Yep.
So that's the idea. It's literally, it's a game, but it's not a game. It's whatever you want it to be. If you want to make a track that's cool, if you want to rebuild a track, as long as you don't use any assets from a company or somewhere that you don't own, I put it in the game. If you want to make a wrap that has your mum's picture on it, we could have a competition where we actually allow that kind of stuff to happen. The community decides what you want to do. I'm not making this game for me. I'm making this game because I need a place to go play classic Need for Speed. But it can be somewhere that someone wants to go and play classic Pro Street. Make the content. You can do it. Like, it's an ecosystem. It's not a game. So that's what I'm doing. Drivestate.gg is live, but there's nothing on there yet. So there, that's the 10-minute pitch. It's not really a pitch though. It's happening. It'll come live in about 4 months' time. And it's
People
going
in
to be
the
cool.
people in the chat are really like getting hype about this. It's like there's none of that. There's none of that in the market. There's people that are really interested in making their own stuff, and yeah, I think this is needed. Honestly, this is a good idea. What can I say?
Like the closest thing I can say is it's like sim racing. You go to Race Room Racing Experience, you buy the content that you want, and then you go play. And it's just pure racing. But you can't control the content that they make. You can't control the game modes that they make. I'm literally going, you can do whatever you want. If it's cool and the community likes it, it goes in the game. It's that simple. I'm the ultimate gatekeeper, but if the community wants it, I'm not going to say no. And it's $5. And you're going to get more content than Forza if it's a success. So
It also means that
that's
we
my
can have Motor City online as well, reviving here.
Yeah. If you can create, as long as it can be launched through a server, it can be anything you want. It could be, boat racing if you really want it to. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be car racing. It just has to be something. But right now, it's car racing because that's what I do. And I think that's what you guys want. Yeah, it's a lot like iRacing and stuff like that, but like you don't get to control the content in the game. I'm telling you, if you want it in the game, just go make it. And you guys are already modding the crap out of these things. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to just go and make the content yourself. Just make sure you own it.
Yeah,
That's all.
because the modding, I'm telling you, the modding scene, like it's interesting, but modding a Need for Speed game is so awful. It's so the worst experience ever. It's like I don't know. It's either the lack of tool, but it's like getting a car running into the game, a pain in the ass. Everything. Very hard on what can I say? The modding
Yeah.
Porsche Unleashed, like it's 2026. There are no mod tools, proper mod tools for Porsche Unleashed. You know, still, like, it's insane that modding Need for Speed is probably the hardest thing to do ever. And at one point, I will just say, fuck it, I will do mine. Just hop in your game and say, I'm gonna do mine. Just gonna do like Motor City with underground physics, and you tell me I can, and then I can, and people will enjoy that. Like, I like this concept of it.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be full multiplayer. If not enough people show up, you can fill it with bots if you want to. Like it's a multiplayer game. This is not a PvE experience. There is no narrative. You don't progress. You don't unlock cars. You just own it and go race. Skip that stuff that you don't want to do. Like you don't have to finish the game to unlock all the content to now have fun in multiplayer. You spend $5 and you go race. That's all I want. I don't have time to get through an entire game anymore.
Yeah, no. Well, it's understandable. Well, if you guys, again in the chat and everyone like looking, if you guys are interested, please support this project. And as soon as it gets done and it's being made, hop on it. Let's make some content and let's revive motors. I mean, let's keep playing. Let's our stuff. We just can create our own stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah. Like rather than trying to get your stuff into other people's legacy engine, just make your own stuff and have fun and do what you want to make. And if you want to literally take a spline from Need for Speed Underground and redress it, you can do that because that's what I'm doing. Port Royale is coming back.
Speaking about map tools in black box games, though, that we still have not. I mean, that's still been such a.
We,
that's
we
that
don't
is
we
such a.
don't we don't have track
We don't
tools.
have
Like imagine
we
that
don't
we still don't have track tools. There was one being
whatsoever.
made and nothing happened. Like
I think the track tool in Underground was basically 3ds Max, right, Russ? Russ would know.
No. That's absolutely correct. It was pretty much just 3D Studio Max. We had some pretty neat tools built into Max, but those were all, yeah, that was all Jolly Rancher tools that we
Yep.
built into Max. But yeah, it was just 3D Studio Max. That was it.
And making games back then was a lot less tool-like. Actually, the Need for Speed team in EA Canada was the only team still using Max, and every other team was using Maya. But they had an EA Tools team that had to support both. And they got really annoyed at Pioneer because they didn't want to have to support both, since only one team was using Max at the time.
Well, what was funny was every year I had to make a presentation on why we should be allowed to keep using Max. So I would
Yep.
give this presentation. The first thing I would show them was the splines. The splines in Max, but just to add a simple point and change it to a Bezier and pull those Bezier curves was a nightmare in Maya. So I was just like, well, there it is. In fact, in the last presentation I gave, it was me versus Habib, because Habib was the Maya expert. So it was like, okay, so the challenge today, Habib, is we are both going to make a track ribbon. And I think I did an entire track ribbon in under 3 minutes, and Habib wasn't even at the first curve in Maya, and that was it. That's the
That's when you slap down a Hollywood movie art director.
yeah, but he was good. I mean, that guy was a Maya expert.
He's the reason Underground looks as good as it does. And Russell is the reason why everything looks the same, because he made sure that everyone met the same quality, which doesn't
I can
happen in
still
every game.
I can still say all of you are car passionates. I want to believe that they are car passionates. I want like there's one thing we need for Speed games, and the main focus to me is just the cars. You know, the cars and how they react in the environment they're put in. And I kind of thank you, all of you, so much for that. Honestly, I think there's one thing that isn't done anything anymore, which is having passionate people for cars and environments worth driving. And I think Need for Speed, from even from the first Need for Speed, from the first Need for Speed up to Most Wanted, they're the best. You know, it's car focused, it's grounded, it has the best maps to drive on. And honestly, I cannot thank you, all of you, like so much for giving me that experience, for giving us the community that experience, making our childhoods, going as far as like modding, finding tracks inside the game, talking about it. It's like I'm really thankful for that. Honestly, I don't know just how grateful. Like, I have no idea how grateful I am for that. It means a lot. Honestly, it means a lot, and thank you guys for working on Need for Speed. Honestly.
No problem. Thanks for Russell and Brendan to coming, because obviously you can hear my voice is shot.
But yeah, we appreciate you all like taking your time for this AMA, and I know for a fact that everyone still has a lot of questions here. Um, if you guys are still down for another EMA, maybe probably get some more people in and share their stories as well, because like I think a lot of people as well are like craving for like a lot of information just regarding these games that have
Oh,
practically made a lot
yeah.
of childhoods.
Yeah,
Well, Russell,
absolutely. If you guys know more devs and it's like, hey, we made like an AMA here with a lot of like 100 folks, like please like include them, like call them, contact them, make them do Discord accounts, like having black box developers here, like any kind of developer, Seattle, whatever, it's just it means a lot to us. It has you guys have no idea how we feel as a community to have so many stories of you, like people like talking about like what you guys did during development, what you guys like I don't know. I mean, we just posted a track, and Russell like instantly recognized it. It's like we were theorizing about that just a few days ago, and then we have this like, oh no, I remember this. It's just like an light in the testing. It's like it blows our brains out. And yeah, if you guys,
Like everything you
you
did was
know,
amazing, and and you've mentioned this time and time again about like your crunch, like having 9 months to deliver like each game. It's like it's just insane, and we all want to hear more of these from you guys, not just from you guys exclusively, but like from people you might have worked with, you had beers with, or had copious late nights with lots of coffee.
yeah, so many questions that we still need answers for. You know,
well, Russell will be the guy to ask most of them.
Well, it was definitely one of my funnest development periods of my career for sure, and I would probably venture to say the people I'm still closest with to this day in dev is from that era for sure.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason why they turned out to be good games, because most of us, at least the core team, we loved it. We loved it and we were having a good time making it. So that's probably why it turned out the way that they turned out.
Yep. Passion makes product.
Exactly.
All right, dying
Oh,
over here.
Scott, you're done for.
Yeah, I lost my
Yeah.
voice on Friday, so you're lucky I have some of it left today.
Don't worry,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
Take a break,
Yeah.
honestly.
Take a good long break. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you as well uh to both of you, to Russell and to I'm
You,
sorry.
Brendan.
Yeah,
Brendan.
Brendan. And also as well for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in to this AMA. We will probably open another one if time permits.
Yeah.
The, yeah, if time permits, if we can also invite more devs.
Yeah,
Um
basically the idea is that we got the black box AMA. You developers can go and answer as many questions as possible. You community cannot answer. You cannot post any more questions. That's enough. We had enough, but you guys can still answer them. It's gonna stay up for a week. And hey,
yep,
if you guys can get in contact with more devs, we will do another AMA. There we have more questions to
yeah.
there's more questions to be made and more, we need more
Yeah.
answers, you know.
Yeah, okay, just to wrap this up, there is one last question because this guy was in Hot Pursuit 2 a while ago. Where are the rubber boots at? Where are the
Oh,
rubber boots at? Because I think this guy tried to look for them like in the game, like as this AMA is going on.
you'd have to ask Russ.
I think it's in a
So it was,
bush, I think it's in a fern in the where the campground is. I think it's
yeah,
in
where
that
the camp,
area.
well, there's the campground just in a bush. There's one just at the side of the road. It might be under the bush after you cross the bridge before the where the finish line is on Coastal, or what was it called? Coastal? Yeah, I want to say
Coastal.
Coastal. But you got that little bridge. So there's a boot just after that, next to or inside a bush. They're very tiny, and then I think there's four of them on the desert truck, but I couldn't remember. Well, that would have been Dan Cyberling that placed those ones, but those of us that were rubber bootists were very amused.
Are we sure that it's shipped?
Oh yeah, I'm sure that it shipped.
Yeah,
I
because
just
this
remember
guy's
one
been
time
looking for
I
it for
had it
like
in the middle of I had it in the middle of the road at some point, and yeah, Chuck didn't like that because it, not Chuck, sorry, I can't remember who was the EA guy for, was it Hanno? It might have been
On
Hanno.
On Hot Pursuit 2? You mean Sam or
Oh, Sam, the human potato. Yes, it was Sam. Well, Sam was just
no?
concerned about the collision.
Yeah, human potato was Matt or Mike or the guy who worked for Sam. I can't remember his name. Mark Madlin.
Mark
That's
Madlin.
not nice. That's not a nice thing to say.
The what? That's right. And he's the guy. So our introduction to Chuck O'Shea was when Chuck came into sort of welcome black box to the EA family, and we were wondering what happened to Mark. He basically said flat out, "Well, at EA we have this thing where when you fail up." Because Mark got promoted to something and out of Need for Speed. It was, and then for Chuck to spell out that at EA, when you fail up. It was just such a bizarre corporate concept for me.
And then I won't mention names, but somebody in the meeting went, "That's so true," and clapped their hands. That's so funny.
Oh, sorry, it was Mark Obenall. Mark Obenall was the one that got that failed. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
See, there's people are just not saying thank you guys, thank you Black Box, fun AMA, and yes,
Yeah.
thank you guys. I want to say
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Like what
If you
Zim,
can-
yeah, what Zim mentioned earlier. The Black Box AMA channel is open for you devs. With the role, I gave you a role, and you have a permission to basically reply to any question that was asked. In the Black Box AMA forum channel. So like you can just pop in there. Maybe you can answer some questions that were not answered in this AMA, or maybe you have additional information that you wanna tell people in the chat. But yeah, thank you for so much for being with us here. Thank you for everyone, for the 77 remaining audience members for being with us here. Um yeah.
Also, you guys are free to explore our server, free to interact. It's like this place is nice when it decides to be nice. So we're just saying that. Anyways, I
Yeah.
think that's a wrap. I
Yes.
guess.
Yes, that is a wrap. Uh Thank you so much again, guys, and you all have a good day, night, or yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. We
We'll see you on the
appreciate
next
you
one.
all.
Honestly, I'm
Yes.
pretty positive there's going to be a next one. We'll see you in the next one.
There's still a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah. Anyways,
Yes.
time
Yes.
to wrap
Thank you,
this up.
guys. Bye
How do we
bye.
kill the server? Wait,
I
no, not the
yes.
server, not the server. I want to kill the server, but how do we?
I'm gonna kill it now. I'm gonna end the station. Thank you guys again. Adios.
Okay.